Hello, 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 hello. Very good morning, everyone. How are you all? Everyone fine? Last class we have started the batch. I have given the introduction of financial reporting. Till now we have not started any chapter. However, we are discussing about India's 37. We are discussing about India's 37. What is India's 37? Provision, contingent liabilities and contingent asset. What is the corresponding AS? AS 29. Already I have said that the AS29 India AS37, there is not so much difference. I will say 95% same. 95% same means whatever you have done in CA Inter, that is only applied for India AS37. Then also I will assume that you don't know anything and I will teach from the base, means from the meaning I will start. Last class I have asked 3 questions, correct? However, I got answer from the batch only. But then also today, after a basic discussion, you will find that everyone, not only one or two student, everyone will be able to answer that 3 questions, correct? So first let us start with very basic point. There was one term, contingencies. Have you heard about this term, contingencies? Contingencies, AS4, if you remember. AS4, what was the title? Contingencies and event occurring after balance sheet date. Means under AS4 there were two parts, contingencies and event occurring after balance sheet date. Then with the introduction of AS29, contingencies were withdrawn from AS4 and it was shifted from AS4 to AS29. Therefore, most of the faculty will not teach the definition of contingencies. The definition of contingencies in CA inter level. In CA inter level. So, the meaning of contingency is given under AS4, not under AS29. So, can you see, if I want to start AS29, first we need to understand what is the meaning of contingencies. What is the meaning of contingencies? Correct. So, what is the meaning of contingencies? Correct. That we are discussing. So, right now I am just giving the meaning of what? Contingencies. This contingencies has been defined under AS4. Means right now I am not teaching you in AS37. Right now I am not teaching you Ind AS 37. Don't say as per Ind AS 37. Okay. This contingencies has been defined where? Under AS4. So right now I am discussing AS4, means I am starting from CA inter. First we will start CA inter. Then at some point of time I'll make you what? At par. Then we will start what? CA final level. Got it? Means it does not mean that I will teach you CA inter today entirely. No, no, no. ऐसा नहीं होगा. I will be teaching CA final only. But to make you comfortable in the class, I will take some concept of CA inter. Correct? So contingencies means what? Contingencies means what? Bolo. Contingencies are conditions, are conditions or any situations. Correct? Are conditions or any situation. Correct? Existing on which date? On BS. BS means what? balance sheet date. Now under Ind AS, now we'll not call balance sheet date. We'll call it reporting date. So once I shift to what? Ind AS 37, Ind AS means all the Ind AS has not used the word balance sheet date. They have used the reporting date. Are you able to understand? The balance sheet date and reporting date are same only. Balance sheet date and reporting date are same. So under Ind AS, thoda sa will become advanced. Got it? So we will not call it what? Balance sheet date. That was at CA inter level maja aata tha. We call it balance sheet date. Correct? Now we'll call it what? Reporting date. Got it? So are the condition or situation existing on balance sheet date? Understood? Correct? Outcome. Outcome means what? Outcome means what? Result. Outcome, and that outcome can be either favorable or unfavorable. So when I am saying outcome, it can be either favorable, favorable, or what? Unfavorable. For whom? For entities, reporting entity. The outcome of which is not known. Condition is existing on which date? Balance sheet date. But outcome of that condition is not known. So outcome is not known. On which date? On balance sheet date. The outcome of that condition is not known. Understood? Which is dependent on. Which means what? Here, which means what? Condition or outcome? Outcome. So, the outcome is dependent on happening or not happening or uncertain future event. Uncertain future event. Which is dependent on happening or non-happening of uncertain future event. Understood? Uncertain future event, and that future event is not within the control of entity, and that future event is not within the control of entity. So that future event is not within the control of entity. Have you understood the meaning? Can I say at CA final level, whenever I am writing this definition, you are comfortable at comfortable stage. At CA final level, not at CA inter level. CA inter level, this meaning oh maja aa raha hai. Tab it will be over it na. So at CA final level, whatever I will write down, you will be comfortable. But actually, you are understanding or not understanding, that is the point. So that we need to understand whether you have understood my writing or not. So for that, discussions are required. For that, discussions are required. So let me repeat once again definition. Contingencies are what? Any condition or any situation existing on balance sheet date, outcome of which is not known, which is dependent on happening or non-happening of uncertain future event, and that is not within the control of entity. Correct? So when I am saying that condition is existing on balance sheet date, so the condition arises from which event? Past event, future event. Past or future? Past event. Correct? So it means we are discussing our past event or future event. So it means we are discussing only about past event. We are not discussing about future event. Correct? Can you see we record only past transaction? We don't record future transaction. Whether you have recorded anytime future transactions? No. So when I am saying provision contingent liability, that is based on past event or future event? Past event. Whatever we record, that is based on past event. So it means when I am saying existing on balance sheet date, it means arises from past event. Correct now. So when I say event now, it will include all transactions also. Will not write transaction event. When I am saying event, it will include what? Transactions also. Are you getting what I am saying? So don't ask me, sir, why you are not writing transaction. If you want to write on transaction, past transactions and events. Correct now. So event is the consequences of all transactions. Events are consequences of transaction. So when I am saying past event, that arises from that is nothing but consequences of past transactions only, na? Are you able to understand what I am saying? So therefore I am not writing transaction, because when I write event, it will include all what? Because that arises from past transactions only. Got it? Yes, sir. So our condition or situation existing on balance sheet, that outcome of which is not known, which is dependent on happening or non happening of uncertain future event, which is not within the control of entity. Correct? Let me give a very simple example. What they want to say. Correct? So I will take a very simple example. That example I take at CA inter level also. Correct? Let us come to our real life, student life. Let us come to our life, means student life. We are student, na? Correct? When I say we, to it including me also, because I was also student like you. Let me take a very simple example. Suppose you pass what? You pass class 12 examination. Already you pass, that is a past transactions. Correct? Understood? And one of your friend also pass what? 12 examination. Correct? So both are at same level. Both pass 12 examination. 12 means your junior intermediate, whatever you call in this place. Correct? So class 12 they have passed. Now this person has registered for what? CA. In ICI. He want to do CA. Correct? Registration done with ICI. Correct? Yes, sir. And this person said, no, I will not do CA. I will do only what? BCom. You know BCom? Correct? So this person says, no, I will not register for CA. I will do only plain BCom. More or less syllabus are same. If you go to BCom first year, second year, third year, I hope you are also doing BCom. Even though you are not going to college, that is another point. But I hope you have already completed or you are doing BCom. So syllabus is more or less same. Syllabus is more or less same. Correct? So BCom first year, second year, third year will somehow you will take 80% syllabus of CA foundation, inter and final will be covered. 80% syllabus of that will be covered. I don't know about this university, but I have done from Delhi University to more or less Delhi University, so it was same to same only. Correct? Got it. Now coming to, because you registered for CA, so there is a condition existing on that particular day. You registered with for in ICA, na? So there is a condition or not existing on that particular day. Outcome of which is not known. It can be favorable or unfavorable, na? Outcome is known, not known, which is dependent on uncertain future event that is not within the control of any student. Whether you write or you will not write, that also you don't know. Correct? So can I say it gives rise to contingencies in your life? It gives rise to contingencies in your life or not? Are bolna rahe, there is some contingencies or not? Yes, there were some contingencies in your life that particular day. Same thing if I say about that student who have enrolled for BCom. So for BCom also he has done registration with some university. So there is a condition existing on that particular day. Outcome of which is not known. Outcome is not known, na? Whether he will pass or he will not pass, that is not known. Whether he will write, he will not write, that is also not known. Which is dependent on uncertain future event that is not within the control of that particular student. So can you see in both life there were some contingencies? In both life there were some contingencies, correct? But can you say with contingency we will react? We need to take some action, na? We need to take some action. Whenever there is some contingencies in our life, we will take some action. What is that action that we need to understand? What action will take to for you, because you have registered for CA, you will think about the probability of what? Passing percentage, means you will think about what is the probability of pass or fail. What? In exam conducted by ICI at CA foundation level. Are you able to understand? To use search in Google Baba. What is the probability of pass or fail in ICA exam? So of course the probability of passing is less than what? Probability of failing in that exam, na? Means if you search in Google Baba or you ask any of the senior, they will say passing percent is less or high? Less. That only they will say, na? So they will say the probability of pass is less than what? Probability of fail. This is the probability. Have you understood what I am saying? Probability. Probability of passing in that exam is less than probability of failing in that exam. It does not mean you will not pass, huh? It does not mean you will not pass. But probability is less or not of passing that exam. So on that basis of probability, you will react. Understood? And you will take some coaching class at CA foundation level. Whether everyone who are here have taken CA foundation coaching class or not. I think there will be very few students who have not taken coaching class. Very few students. Are you able to understand? And I will say 95% who have registered for CA will take coaching at CA foundation level. Even though they have scored 99% in class 12. Even though they were very bright student at class 12. Are bola re? Are you able to understand? It means what is the action of these circumstances? They will take coaching class. This is nothing but we have created a provision in our life. We have created a provision in our life. Now, taking coaching class does not mean you'll pass, huh? You have taken coaching class, it does not mean you'll pass, but you have created a provision in your life. Yes, with coaching, we'll try to study, and with study, we may pass. Are you getting? But coaching class will not determine that you will pass or fail. But why you have taken coaching class? To safeguard you against future expected losses. Future expected losses which may arise due to such condition which is prevailing on balance sheet date or that particular day. Are you able to understand? So you have taken coaching class. This is nothing but what? A provision you have created in your life. But if you ask this BCom student, correct? What is the probability of passing in the BCom exam? Just reverse situation, and now the passing percentage of what? Pass will be what? More than what? Fail. Now it does not mean he cannot take coaching class. But can I say normally for BCom we don't prefer coaching class. Normally who are not doing CA they will also not take coaching class because they know that they will go and write whatever they will pass. Bola yes or no? It is fact, na? It is fact. Are you able to understand what I am saying? So in this case, I am not saying that he should not take coaching class. But normally, can I say, will not take coaching class? Why? Because of these circumstances, na? A reaction will come and that is no coaching class required. I am saying not always. You may also take coaching class in that situation also. But normally we don't take coaching class because what? It was not required. It was not required. It does not mean that you will pass. If you are not taking coaching class, does not mean you will pass. Are you able to understand? But can I say based on the circumstances we have taken some action or not? Yes. This is nothing but contingencies in our life. This is nothing but contingencies in our life. Let me take one more example for better picture. Let me take one more example. This both example I take at CA interlevel, same example I am continuing. Correct. Suppose anyone, those who may have taken classes at CA interlevel, I think they know about this example. Anyone, but chodo. I will not ask who have taken CA inter from me. Because normally what happens now, it is recorded classes. Now we don't know who is my student. Correct na? Normally now we don't know who have taken classes from me. This is recorded class. Normally everyone takes nowadays what? Recorded classes. Correct? Now this is what? Your house. Am I an artist or not? Correct? So this is your house. Sweet house. Correct? Second example, huh? And this is what? Your what? This is what? Your exam center. Understood? Now today is your exam day. First paper, paper 1 financial reporting. You are ready for the exam. You are ready for the exam. You have done all puja, everything is ready, and you just going to start for what? Your exam centers. You are going to leave your house for going to what? Exam center. And the distance is what? 1 kilometer. Distance is 1 kilometer. and you will go only by walking. Understood? Means you do not have any private vehicle, you do not have any public transportation, you do not have any friends, you don't have any type of friends. Understood? No relative also. Means you will go only by walking. That is the one assumption I am taking for this example. Means you need to go only by what? Walking. Correct? Correct. Now what happened? Just the moment you started for your exam center, what you have observed that there was some black cloud. Black. This is black, huh? Black cloud. Understood what I am saying? Understood. The moment you were leaving for your exam center, you observed that in the sky there was some black cloud. Correct? There is a condition existing on that particular day, exam day. Condition is what? Black cloud. Outcome of which is not known. Whether rain will fall or will not fall, that is not known. Are you able to understand? Which is dependent on uncertain future event, which is not within our control. One second contingencies in your life or not. Correct? There is some contingencies in your life or not. Whether you react or not. You react or without reaction you'll go. मजा आ रहा है चलो. This is exam day na. Normal day you can take whatever decision you want to take. But exam day you need to react on a correct basis. But what you will do at this moment? You will take umbrella and start using it. No. You will take umbrella and keep it. Means you will create provision and keep it aside. And you will use it whenever required. You will use it whenever required. You will take umbrella. This is nothing but you have created one provision in your life or not. For that particular day, for that moment, till you reach what? Exam center. This is nothing but what? Creation of provision. Creation of provision. But can I say you will create, you will take umbrella whenever the probability of rain is more than no rain. Means can I say before leaving you will ask Google Baba. Because you are a smart student, you have a smart mobile. अरे बोलना रे, you are a smart student, you have a smartphone ना, so you have Google Baba. So before leaving you will search Google Baba, what is the weather report? So your Google Baba will say the chances of rain is very high. The chances of rain is very high. Now to, can I say without umbrella can you go? No. It means whenever chances are high, you react and you create what? Provision. You create provision. Chances of what? Loss. The chances of losses are more than chances of no losses. Are you able to understand what I am saying? Then you are creating a provision. Have you understood this point? Means if I change the circumstances, same situation, same particular day, black cloud. But with black cloud, there was some wind also flowing. Means high speed wind were there. Quite possible. Now whenever wind is there, now the cloud may be shifted from one place to another place. You might have observed that in this city, in some place there will be rain, in some place there is no rain. Got it? So wind is also blowing. Now you ask the same question with Google Baba. Now Google Baba is saying the chance of rain in your area is very less. Even though there is a black cloud, but chance of rain in your area is very less. Are you able to understand? Situation change. Situation change means in this situation always it is better to create umbrella. Means better to take umbrella. Better to create provision. Means in any situation if you are creating provision, no one will say don't create provision. But can I say unnecessary will not take burden na? Unnecessary will not create provision. Always it is better to create provision. Means if you are taking umbrella, no one will say why you are taking umbrella. So I will say you can take umbrella. But if you know chances of rain is less, so can I say you can take some other decision? So what you can do in this situation? You will not take umbrella. It does not mean rain will not come. But you don't like to take umbrella because you are going exam center, maja aa raha hai. Understood? So you may take another decision that you will not take umbrella. But in this situation, can I say you will inform your friends or your parents that I am going without Umbrella, come and save me whenever required. You'll disclose the fact or not? You'll disclose the fact to the user of financial statement. This is nothing but contingent liability. This is nothing but contingent liability. Means both provision and contingent liability arises from what? Contingencies. Both arises from contingencies. When I am saying contingency, it does not mean only contingent liability. For a particular situation, in that particular moment, we may create provision, we may not create provision, depending upon the circumstances. Depending upon the circumstances. I hope these two examples have created a better understanding about contingencies. In our real life, whatever we do, we apply in accounting. Means the accounting basic principle has been derived from our life only. Correct now. Means for our life also we are very much conservative. We are always conservative, and therefore we follow conservatism where? In accounting. Got it? Correct? Now, it means if I just explore this definition once again, so we are discussing about what? Outcome. We are discussing about outcome. Correct? Now we have understood this outcome may be what? Favorable or unfavorable. So when I am saying favorable or unfavorable, means either it will be favorable or unfavorable. Means either that condition will give rise to some income in future or some expense in future. It will not be both. Either there will be inflow or outflow. They cannot be both. From one transaction, they cannot be inflow as well as outflow. So either there will be expected inflow or expected outflow. Correct? It means when I am saying favorable, so favorable means what? Expected income. Now when I say income, income include gains also. So there is no need to say income or gains. Income is a wider term. Income is a wider term. So when we say income, income include all gains. In Bachpan we used to call income or gains, but gains is nothing but a part of what? Income. And when I am saying unfavorable, unfavorable means what? Expected expenses. Correct? Now you all know that based on the conservatism principle, we don't recognize what? Expected income. Based on conservatism principle? Based on conservatism principle. Anyone who can give me the definition of conservatism? Definition of conservatism? Anyone? Arre, this you don't say that you don't know, huh? I'm asking you need to respond, you need to react. Last class I said that you need to answer even you don't know. So this you know. Correct? What is anyone who can explain the meaning of conservatism? Try now. When you try, two things will happen. Either you are correct or you are wrong. But 90% chances you will be correct only. Better to speak. Better to speak. Bolo. Conservatism. Record all future losses and all future, but do not anticipate any future gain. That only you are saying. Anyone want to add something? Ki this is exactly what you have done at CA foundation level. Bolo. All possible losses means you have added one more terms possible, but it is more or less same. More or less same only. Anything more you want to add? Chalo, let us come to definition of conservatism. Same meaning I have also done when I was at what? Class 11 and 12. CA foundation I have not taken coaching class. Correct now. So I have done self study. Then actually I have understood ki what actually I have done in class 11 12. Understood? Ki I also score very good marks at 12th. In accounts, I scored 98, but how I scored 98, that I was not knowing. Then at CA foundation level, when I started reading ICA study matter, then only I understood that actually we have not studied anything in class 11, 12. This CA education become complicated only because of Indian education system at class 11 and 12. Because of that reason, CA become complicated. And we follow that approach, whatever you were following in class 11, 12, in what CA also. You have done nothing. You not. We have done nothing at class 11, 12. Anyone here from science background who converted from science to commerce because they realized that they are not. चलो ठीक है यार. Anyone from science background? You need to always what? Respect them because they came from other course to this course, na? Correct? Don't feel bad, huh? Don't feel bad. Now you are commerce student. Okay? So you are from science background. You know, there is one fact. This commerce student, including me, huh? Including me. When I am saying commerce, I was also a commerce student in class 11, 12. Correct? This commerce student have done 2-year accounting, 2-year commerce studies. Means apart from maths, because you may or may not have opted maths. Am I right or not? Can you say all were in CA foundation? Maths, law was new subject, but law is in English. Law is in English subject na. If you know English, you can understand law na. Are bolna re? Ha, maths it might happen you have not done 2 years, so you are not comfortable in maths at what? CA foundation level. But law was comfortable na. It's in English, nothing but like a story. You need to read a story. So 2 years we have done accounts and other subject. This science background student have never done accounts. But the fact is that the passing percentage of science student is very high. Means I have never seen any science background student have not become CA. Means those who have came from science background and now opted for what? CA, they will become CA. At attempt is not matter. Once you become CA, attempt we don't count also. After becoming CA, no one have a right to ask attempt. Will you ask me, sir, how many attempts? You'll never ask. You'll never ask. You will think twice before asking, sir, how many attempts? So attempt does not matter only. But what I have seen, as per my experience, that any student who is coming from science background, I have never seen that they have quit CA without becoming CA. But commerce student, you know the fact. What is the reason? Reason is what? It is science student. I will ask from this science student only. When you have done class 11, 12, first you used to do theory or practical. I am asking science student. You have done first theoretical part or practical part? Bolo? First you will do practical. Huh? No. I am not asking about subject, Ray. All subjects are practical. That is one false imagination you have created. Audit is also a practical subject. Law is also a practical subject. Every subject is practical only. Because you need to apply that in your practical life. Law you will not apply in your practical life. Audit you will not apply in your practical life. So how can you say it is a theoretical subject? Everything we apply in our life only. Whatever you are applying in your life, that is a practical subject. There is nothing known as theoretical subject. Theory means what? Whatever you do in class. Are you getting? And practical means you are actually applying that. Means science student, first the teacher will come in the class, they will discuss all the definition, all the subject matter, and then they go to lab. Bola yes or no? Then they will go to lab. Are bolna re? And then they will start applying the theoretical part, whatever they have done in class, into what? A practical environment. Are bolna re? Because I think if you have done class 9th and there also you have done biology, chemistry, so you have done na. So you have also observed or not? That we do in advanced level in class 11, 12 if you have opted for science. But in commerce, when you come to the class, correct now, the teacher will start like this, accounts. My first day, your first day is same. Huh? Class, so they will say, देखो बच्चों, correct? Accounts means what? We need to prepare balance sheet. This is the balance sheet format. This is profit and loss account format. They will write them. देखो profit and loss account. This is what balance sheet. In this all asset we write on here. Understood? This side asset. Examples are building. You know building. Building is an asset. So why building? Hey, building is an asset. Understood? Acha sir, asset. Then write down all liability here. Write down capital. Then write down what? Loan. So loan is a liability. Yes, loan is a liability. Then come to SOPL. All expense here, Baba. Yeah. All expense this side and all income this side. देखो, this is debit, this is credit. Understood? So always this side what? Bolo? Debit. This side what? Credit. Understood? This is what you need to do. And then you start preparing from trial balance what? Balance sheet and PL account. All balance sheet tell it maja aata tha. Then one more point. Provision. Whenever provision write on here beta. To provision for doubtful debt. Always here only, huh? Nobody explain what is provision that time. Nobody explain what is asset. Nobody explain what is liability. Nobody explain what is expense. Nobody explain what is income. Means when I passed class 12, actually I was not doing this definition of asset and income expense. They might have done, but they have not focused on that. They focus on what? The practical questions. So for commerce students, there was no lab. So we started doing all practical question in class only. And believe me, all balance sheet tell it without knowing the definition of assets and liability. Without knowing the definition of asset and liability. Why building is an asset? That time though we were not knowing. At CA foundation level also we don't know. You pass CA foundation, at CA inter level, chalo theek hai, you become so much advanced that you automatically try to understand what is the meaning of asset. But at CA foundation level also you were not knowing what is what asset. I asked one question, what is real account? What is real account na? Are bolna re. So have you, because last day I asked what is real account? So how many of you went home and tried to analyze the meaning of real account? How many of you? Raise your hand. Means only 2%. Only 2%, huh? What does? What is it? Okay. Not important for our life. This is, you need to change yourself, huh? You need to change yourself. Intensely I have not given the meaning of real account. Why I will give? Why I will give meaning of real account? I am not teaching you CA foundation, nah? And don't expect from me. Can I say as a CA final student, if you are not knowing the meaning of real account, you should go home and ask someone or research what is the meaning of real account? अरे बोलना रे, अरे बोल. Yes sir. Am I right or not? You know, change yourself, otherwise ICI will change you. Huh? Don't let ICI to change yourself, change your life. 100% if you will not change, ICI will change your entire life. You need to change before ICI change you. Are you able to understand? Correct? Got it? One more day I am giving to you. Go home. Till you understand the meaning of real account, don't sleep. Don't sleep. This you need to now apply in your life. Till you understand the meaning of real account, you are not supposed to sleep. You are not supposed to sleep. Means till you achieve your target of that particular day, you are not supposed to sleep. From today only. From today. Understood? So whatever I have done in class today, you need to complete by today only. Then go to bed and then you'll think you'll have a very nice sleep also. Dream will also come that I become CA, maja aa raha hai. Correct? Yeah. So this was actually commerce, and because of this reason, I will say Indian commerce education system, CA become complicated because of this reason. If in class 11, 12 na, proper study was given about accounts, etc., then at CA foundation level, so CA was very easy. CA foundation level. CA foundation also we are not able to pass. Same syllabus, same thing. Why? Because of this reason. Got it? So this only I just want to change. Let us come to what? Conservatism definition. Let us come to conservatism. Now it is the right time to now understand the exact definition of conservatism. You said all possible losses. So before you say something, you think na whether it is correct or not. Let me take one example. You said all possible losses. This is what reporting date, balance sheet date, and can I say you will also carry on your business for future also? So can you see on this balance sheet date that in future you need to pay salary because you have appointed some employee? अरे बोलना नहीं, you know this fact or not? This is possible losses or not? Possible expense or not? Now will you recognize this salary on this date? Bolo. Will you recognize this salary on reporting date? It means your definition is not correct. At CA final level will not recognize, huh? Because we have never done that type of journal entry. Because that is an expense of what? Next year. We will not recognize. But can I say your definition become wrong? You are saying all expected losses. So of course that is our expected losses only. Expenses. Expenses will include what? Loss. It means we need to correct the definition. We need to correct definition. It is high time we should correct it. Because in interview, if this question is asked and you will say all possible losses, then they will say bye bye. Then they will say bye bye. Or just try to imagine that you pass CA. You will, of course you will become CA. This CA final exam is only a formality. I always say CA inter you pass na CA final to you will pakka pass. But after passing CA means after becoming CA, whether any company has a right to reject you. You only think such a toughest exam. You passed that exam. Then you went for the interview. And in that interview, whether that company has a right to reject you. अरे बोलना रे. You should reject ना. अरे बोलना रे. And they are rejecting. After passing means we have proved ourselves that we are capable of doing anything. Then also we go and give interview and they select us. अरे why रे? Why? Who are you? Who are you? You don't have right to reject us. We will reject you. We should take interview. Am I right or not? This is a fact. After passing that examination, which everyone says toughest examination, then also we are supposed to give interview. Something is lacking. In that interview also all will not pass. All will not pass. Something is lacking. Means becoming and passing CA is two different terms. Passing CA examination does not mean you become CA. Because actually your life will start after becoming CA. Actually your life will start after becoming CA. That you need to understand at this point of time. If you understand that thing in this particular time frame, the CA will become easy and after that your life will be very easy. Got it what I am saying? So we need to change ourselves during this particular date. Got it? Understood? So conservatism means what? Recognize all expected losses arising from past events. That was missing. Foundation they have, because at foundation level normally teacher think that if we'll give detailed definition, they will not come in class next day. Chalo, at CA foundation level we have done that. Teacher has not given the proper definition, but at CA inter level too we have done AS29. We have done all accounting standard. That was the right time to understand the correct meaning of conservatism. Then also no teacher have done that. And even though teacher has not done, you should learn that thing by your own. Because you should apply that, na. If I am saying all expected expenses to salary become expected expense, then how can we recognize that? You should ask that question from your faculty, but you have not asked. Because our traditional system says they come to class, whatever teacher say, just listen and then go to home and then do rectification. Whatever teacher has given journal entry, just memorize that and just learn that, and that will only come in exam. Will not think beyond that. Start thinking beyond that. Start thinking beyond whatever has been done in class. Understood? Imagine you are into your practical life and then start thinking. But it, so can I say the correct definition is what? We should recognize all expected expenses arising from past event, not from future event. Means contingency is nothing but conservatism principle. Conservatism principle. Correct? I'm just taking my time for this particular topic to inform you that what you have done in CA inter, what you are supposed to do at CA final level. CA inter you pass without knowing the concept, but CA final nahi hoga. You need to learn the concepts. Difference you understand CA inter and CA final, and you follow the same approach, then multiple attempt will come. Multiple attempt will come. Got it? So this you have understood. So we all know that expected income will not be recognized, and therefore we call it contingent asset. What is the meaning of contingent asset? That I will do. But we all know that we don't recognize contingent asset. Correct? Will not be recognized. Correct? Means can I say about this unfavorable situation which is nothing but expected expenses. Now that we have understood as per conservatism principle, we need to recognize it, because when I am saying outcome, this is outcome from which event? Arising from past event. So what AS4 used to say, however we have not done AS4. AS4 you has said that if if the expected expenses are probable and amount can be estimated. Understood? When I am saying probable means chances are more than 50%. Chances are more than 50%. Correct? So if it is probable and the amount can be estimated, then recognize it. Means can I say we can pass, recognize means pass journal entry, record it. So we can pass journal entry when we know the amount. So either it can be fixed amount or determinable amount. If you can determine means you need to estimate it. So if it can be estimated, then only you can pass journal entry. No? So if it can be estimated, then recognize what? Provision. Understood? Recognize provision means we can say provide for such expenses. We should provide for such expenses. Therefore, we used to pass one journal entry expenses account debit to what? Provision. Expenses will be transferred to PL. This is expected expense, na? Expected expense account debit to provision. But we don't write expected. We write on expense only. Got it? Correct? In other case means what? Either both the conditions are not satisfied or any one condition is not satisfied. Means if it is not probable, then other case probable but amount cannot be estimated. Other case, so in other case, what will do? Disclose the fact as what? Disclose the fact as contingent liability. This was given where? In AS4. But AS4 has not defined provision and contingent liabilities and contingent asset. Therefore, a new AS was created, AS29, to give the definition of provision, contingent liabilities and contingent asset. And therefore, we shifted from AS4 to what? AS29 for particular contingencies part. Correct? Means one thing you have understood that Right now, we are discussing about what? Expected expenses. We are discussing about expected expenses. Of course, arising from, this is the key term, arising from past event. Means of course there can be some expected expense from future event, but we don't recognize that future event in our life. Correct? So when I am saying expected expenses, it can be due to two reasons. Either due to decline in the value of what? Bolo? Value of asset. Which asset? Recognized asset, which is already in your balance sheet. Decline in the value of asset. Or due to what? Bolo? Increase in the value of liability. Understood? Either increase in the value of liabilities. Means when I am saying this journal entry, so it can be expense account debit to asset or expense account debit to liability. Correct now? So either it can be due to decline the value of asset or decline the value of increase in the value of liability. When I am saying increase in the value of liability, means can I say it will give rise to some outflow in future? Future outflow? There will be some future outflow or not? Future outflow? Are we able to understand? Future outflow means obligation. 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 Correct. Now this obligation can be either provision or what? Contingent liability. Depending upon what? Situation. Means now I need to inform you when it will become provision, when it will become contingent liability. That discussion we are going to discuss under Ind AS 37 in detail. Same thing you have done in AS 29. But I will not speak right now about AS 29. I will speak about what? Ind AS 37. So one thing is clear, that whenever I am saying obligation, obligation means what? Liability, it will give rise to liability. So can you say this provision is nothing but a liability? Because when you record, it become liability na? When you record, it become liability. Correct. Therefore, can I conclude that provisions are liability? All provisions are liability. Correct. And these are covered where? This is covered. This entire thing, whatever we are discussing, are covered under Ind AS 37. This is covered under Ind AS 37 means AS 29. Means in AS 29 you have done the second part. You have not done the first part. Understood? So what is this decline in the value of asset? Decline in the value of asset means what? Future. Bolo? It is what? Future? Huh? This is future outflow na? This is what? Future? हट नालायक. Future inflow. मजा आ रहा है ना? हाँ, मजा आ रहा है. Then this is what? Contingent asset is what? This was future inflow, and we don't recognize that. Right now we are discussing about one unfavorable situation. When I am saying decline the value of asset become future inflow, मजा आ रहा है. No future inflow means, can I say this will not give rise to any future outflow? I will say no future outflow ना. अरे बोलना रे. No future outflow, and therefore it is not a liability. Therefore it is not a liability. This is not a liability. Means Can you say it will only a mere adjustment to the value of asset? It's only an adjustment to the value of asset, correct? And therefore it is considered as what? Adjustment to asset. And such type of loss are actually known as impairment loss. Impairment loss. A new term in your life. A new term in your life. Impairment loss. However, there was one accounting standard AS 28 impairment of asset that was not in CA inter syllabus. Understood? But it does not mean that you have not done such accounting. I will prove that you have done that also. Impairment loss. But can is new term in your life? New term in your life. Impairment loss. So can you say whenever there is a decline in the value of asset, that loss is known as impairment loss for any asset. Got it? Have you understood this point? Correct? बोलना रे? Correct. And can I say this impairment loss, we should not call it provision, because when I say provision, provisions are what? Liability, and is not a liability. It is not provision. It is not provision. Have you understood this point? Correct? Yes. So don't write. Let us come to one by one each asset. Inventory. 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 Can you see you have done AS2? AS2 means you have done valuation should be done at cost price or NRV, whichever is lower. This is what? Impairment loss only. Cost price or NRV, whichever is lower, not higher. You have done lower now. Correct? That is based on conservatism principle only. Means that is due to what? Contingencies, but not covered under AS 29. It was covered where? Under AS 2. Means you have covered that impairment loss. You have charged that loss to PL only, but that was an expected loss. Expected loss or not? That was an expected loss arising due to past event or future event. Past event, not because of future event. Understood? Not because of future event. That is known as impairment loss. Now this loss will be covered under Ind AS 2. Means can you say for impairment loss we have a specific standard? It is not covered under Ind AS 37 or AS 29. For impairment loss we have a specific AS or Ind AS. I am writing AS also because this is the first class. Chalega. AS2. Only this number is same. Ind AS 2, AS2. AS2, AS2. Only for inventory. Correct. Then we have what? Property, plant and equipment. You know PP. You have done AS10. PP. Property, plant and equipment. Then you have done IA. IA means what? Intangible asset. You all know intangible asset? Huh? You all know intangible asset? Then IP. IP means what? IP means what? Investment property. Investment property. Not intellectual property. Huh? Investment property. If you want to write on, write. Correct? Now don't see me say why you are not writing full form. I am CA. You write full. Chalega na? Correct? Yes. For this impairment loss is covered where? Under Ind AS 36. And there was one AS 28, which was actually not in your syllabus. AS 28. Understood? Correct? Then receivable. A receivable. It can be either any type of receivable. It can be trade receivable. It can be non-trade receivable. So what is non-trade receivable? Means which are not trade receivable. Simple na. Means if suppose you have given loan to any other party, that become loan receivable. So that is also receivable now, but that is not a debtor na. That is not trade receivable. I hope you are understanding. So receivable can be any type of receivable. It can be what? Loan receivable. It can be trade receivable. It can be any other receivable. Understood? Receivable. Understood? For that, batao, have you created provision? Have you created? Of course, sir. For trade receivable, so we have n number of times we have created provision for doubtful debt. Provision for doubtful debt. Now from but after this entire discussion, you only say whether provision for doubtful debt was a correct term. Provision for doubtful debt was a correct term. No, it was not a correct term. It was not a correct term. But chalo at CA inter level we have used provision for doubtful debt because ICA was using. Correct now. But now under Ind AS will not call it provision for doubtful debt. Now I need to change. Now Ind AS says it is nothing but impairment loss for which we need to create allowance for bad and doubtful debt. We'll call it allowance. But it is an impairment loss. But will not say that we have created, we need to create provision for doubtful debt. That is 100% wrong. Because when I say provision, provisions are liability and this is not liability. So of course that was not a correct term. So this receivable for that, this expected loss will be covered under Ind AS 109. Coming soon in your life. Ind AS 109. This Ind AS 109 is a very big chapter. Already I said this will change your entire accounting. Last class also said, I said na, there is one chapter. The name of the chapter is financial instrument. A new term in your life, financial instrument. That will change your entire accounting. That I will do a later part. But you have created provision for doubtful debt. You have created or not? अरे बोलना रे. As per which AS? बोलो. बोलो. You have created or not? And many times they will ask question also. But can you say it was not covered in AS 29? And if you have written as per AS 29 in exam, 0 marks. Even though your answer was correct. Now cry. Oh, ICA is not giving marks, sir. You have written AS 29, na? Wrong answer. Not as per AS 29. Because that was not covered under AS 29. Simple, na? Because AS 29 also the provision means liability and that provision for doubtful debt is not a liability. So as per which AS? No AS? As per which AS? As per AS for contingencies. As per AS for contingencies. And in the chapter AS4 they used to ask question about provision for doubtful debt. You might not be knowing right now, but whatever question of provision for doubtful debt was given in ICA study matter C and level, that was under AS4. So you need to refer the definition of contingencies, and as per contingency we need to create that provision. Because that contingency will cover everything. Means contingency will create both situations, na? This and this both. Because I am discussing right now contingencies. So it was covered under AS4. Now you should know, na? Are bolna re. Now you should know as per AS it was covered under AS4. So contingency to the extent of provision for doubtful debt, contingencies were still existing. But teacher has not given the definition of contingencies only in C enter. I keep, if you are my student, I will teach contingencies also, provision also, everything at CA inter level. And therefore student don't come to me because I teach everything, na. Normally if I'll teach everything, it will become heavy, na. So teach from exam point of view. Just you will pass CA inter, what will happen in CA final level? CA final no one will teach AS, na. I am teaching, I am doing some benefit, I am providing some benefit to you. But no teacher will teach AS in CA final level. Got it? Understood? And believe me, I am not wasting your time, I am just giving this explanation because I need that thing in my future studies. So I am helping myself by teaching everything. Got it? Correct? I mean, right now there are other assets also, but I am not writing other asset because that you will not be able to understand. For example, there are biological asset, new term in your life, other investment, there can be investment in equity share, etc. That I am not writing. Means all impairment loss of any asset will be covered under a specific standard, not under Ind AS 37. Correct? One thing you have understood that for these, now we'll create allowance for bad and doubtful debt. Now we'll not use the term provision for doubtful debt. We'll call it allowance for bad and doubtful debt. We also say sometimes expected credit losses. We call it what? Expected credit losses. These are very new term in your life. So I don't want to discuss much right now. But just write down. You should be familiar with the terms. But can you say any decline in the value of asset will be known as impairment loss now, which arises from contingencies, This much you understood, correct? I hope I have done my job related to contingencies. I have done my job. Means that three question if I ask right now, you will have the answer. Whatever question I have asked last day, provision, contingent liability, and whether provision for doubtful debt is a liability. These three questions I have asked, now you have the answer for that. Have you understood? But now can I ask one more question to understand whether you have understood or not? Always I will cross check. Understood? And whenever I ask question, that will be based on my discussion. I will never ask any question which is not based on my discussion. Means only to inform you that whether you are concentrating or not in the class. Correct? So based on discussion I will ask. Apply your common sense. Apply your common sense. My question is that you all know provision for depreciation? Yes, sir. You know this term or not? Provision for depreciation? From CA foundation level we have created what? Many time account, provision for depreciation account. अरे बोलो. Yes, you know. बताओ. This provision for depreciation will come in first part ki second part. Think and say, huh? Think and say. Don't say, A CA, whenever to a CA question is asked, they will think first. Understood? They will analyze and then they will speak. Even though they know now, they will first think and then they will speak. This is the quality of a chartered accountant. And the first quality. And if they don't know the answer, they will say, I am busy right now. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And then they will study and come back and reply. This is the quality of what? A CA. This you should also have. Got it? If CAs are not perfect, we have 50%, na? We got 50%, we become CA, na re? Are bolna re, my aggregate was also like that only, It was between 50 and 60. Correct? But I can answer anything. Give me some time. You can ask me any question. I'll go home, study, and I will reply. Correct? Now come to provision for depreciation will come in first part and second part. In class, so you need to reply because this is a class. Well, anyone who want to answer, raise your hand. बोलो. Huh? Raise your hand. Raise your hand first. Hey, Ruja, I need to first see how many of you are answering. Re. Give me some time. Re. Let others also think. Na? Equal opportunity should be given to everyone. Okay? How many of you want to answer? Raise your hand. Only one. After so much discussion. बोलो. Two. Two. Last day I said answer even you don't know. Try. Try. Your answer might be correct. Your answer might be wrong. Right now, don't think that your answer is wrong only. Then you will not reply only, na. Your answer may be correct also. You are not supposed to decide whether it is correct or wrong. I see. I will decide in after exam whether it is correct or wrong. Got it? Value of asset will come down. So how it is future outlook? You are saying this is value of the asset will come down. Then you are coming second part. My asset I am using right now, how it is future outflow? Arey bhai, how it is future outflow? You are saying generating income that become inflow. Acha, if I am saying loud na, so don't feel bad, huh? If I am saying loud, then don't feel bad, huh? Correct. Value of asset will decline. So it is first part. You are saying second part. Confusion. Confusion is there or not? Confusion is there or not? Still confusion is there. Yes. Okay. Yeah, you'd say. First part, second part. It will not come in. Acha. Then what? The depreciation is created because of future event. Means we recognize future event. We recognize all future transaction also. Because when we are discussing how much is coming from our body, correct? When we discuss now, normally what happens when we discuss, so all unwanted things will come out and wanted thing will remain in the body. So we think that we know, but actually we don't know. We are in some what imagination, and that imagination will lead to what? Attempt. We should rectify it. This is the right time to rectify before exam. Correct? From here, someone was reaching. You say. Means you are saying depreciation is due to contingencies. No, you are saying depreciation is due to conservatism. Means whenever we record depreciation, that is due to conservatism principle. Am I right? Okay. Okay, understood. The answer I understood. First part, second part. Both. It can be first, it can be second. First part, second part. What is my question? First, you answer that, na? You don't answer that, you start explaining. You get zero. First part, second part. First part. Now explain. It is not due to contingencies. It is not due to contingencies. Yes or no? Then to is outside the scope of this discussion only. Then why you are saying first part? If you are saying it is not because of contingencies, outside the scope of this discussion or not? अरे बोल ना रे. Then you are saying why first part? Confusion, huh? Confusion. Correct. Something is coming out from your body, but something is coming. Bolo yes or no? Understood the realization of discussion. Normally in class, if you don't discuss, you are not understanding. And normally what CA faculty follow without discussion, they will teach everything. They will not let you to think. And when I will discuss, believe me, if I start discussing, you will think, "Arey, itna easy tha." We are knowing everything. So when I will say everything without discussion, you will not realize that we were knowing nothing before this discussion. And therefore I am asking questions. Neither this nor this. Why? Huh? Means you are saying depreciation is not a decrease in the value of asset. And this is not due to conservatism. 100% correct. 100% correct. It will neither come in first part, it will not come in second part. Means depreciation is not decrease in the value of asset only. Oh ma. Oh ho 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 ho. Depreciation is not decreasing the value of asset. Even though the value of asset will increase, will depreciate asset. Because depreciation because of past use. When you are using the asset, you scope of this topic only. Outside the scope of this topic. Now in interview, if somebody asks you what is depreciation, if you say depreciation decrease in the value of asset, they will say bye bye. They will not ask second question. Depreciation 100% correctly said is a systematic allocation of what? Depreciable amount over the useful life of the asset. Same meaning you have done where? In your AS10. But you have not applied it. Meaning was given. AS10 to you have done na? Are bolna re. AS10 you have done or not? Same meaning was given. Depreciation systematic allocation. I don't know what your faculty has done. But this the meaning is given under AS10. But you have not reacted. When this meaning was given to you, you have not reacted that time. You should react. Only first this day I am saying so much. Next day you need to react by your own. Because I need to complete the syllabus also. Huh? I need to complete the syllabus also. So I am warning you. I am warning you. Till you understand, don't leave the classroom. And in this classroom, you have a right to ask questions. I have an obligation to answer all the questions. Are you getting what I am saying? If I do not answer, you have a right to file a case against me. Mat karna bhai. But I have an obligation to answer. Have you understood? Correct? Understood? So correctly said, it means can I say provision for depreciation to maha bakwas term? It is not because of contingencies. Means chalo provision for doubtful debt because it is because of contingency. We say we should provide loss and from that provide what name come provision. So I will say chalo theek hai. Provision for doubtful debt okay because that is from which concept? Contingencies. We can use it. But provision for depreciation we should never use it. And believe me, in your office, when you write means when you write a cost price, you do less accumulated depreciation. You never use provision for depreciation. Means any CA if they are using provision for depreciation, actually they are not CA. Because AS10 also say accumulated depreciation. Accounting standard has also not used the term provision for depreciation. I don't know who is creating ICA study matter here. Means ICA study matter is created by some non-chartered accountant. Because in ICA study they are using provision for depreciation. They are using provision for depreciation, but we respect what our Godfather. Whatever you will say, we will follow. But up to C enter. Now you can't use provision for depreciation. Means can I give a note? Bolo. Provision for depreciation is not a correct term. Means in my class, so I will not use. Actually, the correct term is what? Accumulated depreciation. Means as per AS also it is accumulated depreciation only. Why we are using provision for depreciation, that we need to ask a question na. We should not use in CA enter also. Are you able to understand what I am saying? Depreciation is not a decline in the value of asset. And therefore, outside the scope of above discussion. If you want to write down, it is due to matching concept, not due to conservatism principle. Correct? With this, I will stop contingencies. We'll move toward India's 37. Now we'll start India's 37. If any doubt, you can ask me. Any doubt? No doubt? Can we proceed? So now we'll start India's 37 provision, contingent liabilities and contingent asset. What is the meaning of provision? First we'll start with provision, then we'll go to contingent liabilities and then we'll go to contingent asset, then we'll come to the measurement part of provision, etc. Correct? Understood? So what is the meaning of provision? Meaning of provision, provisions are liability. Provisions are liability. Understood? It is liability. Of what? Uncertain timing or amount. Means either amount is uncertain or timing of payment is uncertain, or both. It can be both also. Correct now? Means either we don't know the amount, it is a liability, but we don't know the amount, or we know the amount but we don't know the timing of payment, when it will arise in future. When it will arise in future, so we say that it is a provision. Means if both amount and timing is known, then it is what? Now like it is a liability only. If I am saying if both amount of payment is known and timing of payment is known, it means it is a perfect liability. बोलना yes or no? Means can I say all provisions are liability but all liabilities are not provisions? Means under liability you write provisions na? So which are not provision are also what? Liability. Are you getting what I am saying? So provisions are liability. So can I say when I am saying when both are known, amount is also known as well as timing is also known, that are liability, pure liability. Provisions are also liability, yeah? So provisions are liability. It means, can I see if I need to explain the definition of provision, first I need to ask what is the meaning of liability. If we know the liability, then only we can know what provision. Because provisions are liability, we should understand what is the meaning of liability. And one more thing, you are not supposed to read anything by your own. Understood? Till I read, you are not supposed to read anything by your own. In your home you can study, but not in class. Got it what I am saying? Because once you read now, interest lost. I'm coming. Understood? So you are not supposed to read till I read anything, whatever I am not reading. Correct? Because I will ask many questions. I will ask many questions. Just try to understand. Okay, correct. Provision for tax. First, it is outside the scope of this chapter. However, it is a provision. You can say, but normally it is under Ind AS 12 and AS 22. It is covered under AS 22. Provision for tax was not covered where? In this chapter. Means it was not covered under AS 29 also. But very good question. I like whenever they are someone is asking a question, because we say provision for tax, because provision for tax, first amount whatever you have calculated, whether it's an actual amount or estimated amount. Estimated amount. Abhi assessment is pending. AO will come. They will decide what is actual liability. Bolna yes or no? Understood? Yes, it will be covered under definition, but outside the scope of this chapter. Because that is covered under Ind AS 12 and AS 22. Already you have done where? In UCA intern. Got it? Understood? So, but I have explained your question. Your doubt is clear? Okay. So can I say provisions are liability of uncertain amount or timing? So what is the meaning of liability? Means we can understand this provision only when we know the meaning of liability. Anyone who can say what is the meaning of liability? I'm asking. What is the meaning of liability? Liability means what? Understood? Just try to. At CA final level, if I am asking liability and you are taking so much time, suppose a CA foundation student asks you what is the meaning of liability and you are not able to answer, and suppose he knows the meaning of liability and you are not able to answer properly, what image you are creating? Are you able to understand what I am saying? Are you able to understand what I am saying? Therefore, because when I am saying chartered accountant, the name only include accounts. So we should become expert in accounts. All CAs should be expert in accounts. Because no other profession will make you expert in accounts. Only in CA you will become expert in accounts. Other course will not make you expert in accounts, na? Am I right? So what is the meaning of liability? I know you know, but exactly what is the meaning of liability you don't know. Let me only say what is the meaning of liability. Liability means what? You can say provisions or liability of uncertain amount or timing. The definition. So what is the meaning of liability? Liability is a present obligation arising from past event. One thing we have understood, obligation arising from past event, but all obligations are not liability. Only present obligations arising from past event are liability. Understood? Present obligation arising from past event. So what is the meaning of present obligation? What is the meaning of present obligation? Any obligation which is probable on reporting date, it become what? Present obligation. Means any obligation which are what? Probable on which date? Probable on which date? On reporting date. When I say probable means chances are more than 50%. Can I say when I am saying chances are more than 50%, it will also include 100%? It will also include certain, na? When I am saying chances are more than 50%, so 100% will it be covered under probable only? Yes, na. When I am saying probable means chances are more than 100, sorry, chances are more than 50%. So if it is 100% certain, it will be covered under definition of probable or not? Yes, it is probable. When I am saying chances are more than 50%, it does not mean it will not include certain liability. It will also include certain obligation also. Are we able to understand? So right now I am defining liability. I am not defining provision. The liabilities are present obligation arising from past event. Liabilities are present obligation arising from past event. All obligations are not liability. All obligations are not liabilities. All obligations are not present obligation. So liability means what? Present obligation arising from past event. Correct. The settlement of which is expected to result in an outflow of resource. Which can I say which will be settled in future through outflow of resource? Which will be settled. Which will means what? Future tense. Which will be settled through outflow of resource? Through outflow of resource. Correct. So the settlement of which is expected to result in an outflow of resource from the entity. The settlement of which, the settlement will be done in future. If settlement is done on reporting date, then it is not a liability only, na? Correct. So settlement of which is expected to result in an outflow of resource. Resource means what? Outflow of resource. Resource means what? Can I say resource means asset, including what? Cash. Means outflow can be either in the form of cash or any other asset. It can be other in the form of any other asset. So that become the meaning of liabilities. So liabilities means what? Can you repeat? Liabilities are present obligation arising from past event, the settlement of which is expected to result outflow of resource from the entity. Correct? Understood. I'll give you some example. You'll say whether it is a liability, it is not a liability. Correct? Now one thing you know that there is a difference between liability and equity. Equity means above, liability means down. In equity and liability, अरे बोलना रे, so equity and liability are different ना. So liability will not come in equity and equity will not come in liability. First we write down equity, then non-current liability, then current liability. So liability can be non-current as well as current, but it is not equity. Understood? That too you have understood na. Means what accounting equation in bachpan you have done? Equity is equal to asset minus equity means capital is equal to equity is equal to asset minus liability. Equity and liability are different na. अरे बोल ना रे. Now I'm asking some, I'm just giving some example. You will say it is a liability, it is not a liability. Correct. Bata. First, debentures. Liability. Based on this definition, based on CA inter class. ना ना अभी तो you are applying CA inter. Always liabilities. Huh? Correct na? Okay. Equity share capital. Equity share capital. You are applying definition without applying. You are saying apply definition. Huh? Apply definition. Okay. Below. What I have said. Equity share capital. Equity. It is a liability. It is not a liability. Not a liability. You have applied definition. Correct. Below. Redeemable preference share capital. Redeemable preference share capital. बोलो. Redeemable preference share capital. Equity or liability? How many are saying liability? How many are saying equity? Equity मजा आया? Because in CA inter we have done under equity. अच्छा चलो तो let us apply definition ना हाँ. Now whatever you have done in CA inter that you don't apply हाँ. It's totally going to change. Redeemable preference share capital, whether there is an obligation, present obligation to pay the amount through outflow of resource. Yes, there is a present obligation arising due to contract. We have done one contract with preference shareholders that it will be redeemed after 5 years or 10 years. Redeemable means after certain year. So there is a present obligation arising from past event which will result in some outflow of resource. You will pay cash now. So it is a liability or it is not a liability? It is liability. Means in CA inter used to disclose where? Under the head share capital. Now it is going to change. Now redeemable preference share capital will come where? In liability. In liability, not under the head share capital. Not under the head share capital. Understood? Have you understood? Hey, let me finish. I'll just ask you any doubt because I have some rhythm. I'll forget some example. Okay. So you just raise your hand, but I'll give you time. Let me ask some question then. Now, last example. Okay now. धीरे 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 you will become expert in all examples. At a time I will not give everything. Slowly you become expert. Okay. Last example. Think and say, convertible debenture which will be converted into equity shares. Convertible debenture which will be converted into equity shares in future. Liability, it is not a liability. It is a liability, it is not a liability. Applying definition? Now apply what? Definition. Apply definition. Convertible debenture which will be converted into equity shares. There is no outflow of resource. There is no outflow of resource. However, in your later classes, I will say there are some component of liability and some component equity because there is an obligation to pay interest. There is an obligation to pay interest, but in later classes. But can I say I have asked only about conversion portion. So if the principal amount will be converted into equity share, that portion is what? Not a liability. So 100% whatever you have said that was correct. But in future classes, it will become equity as well as what? Liability. Means some portion will be equity, some portion will be liability. Understood? That is known as compound instrument. Means having some nature of liability, some nature of equity. But that is a future class. But I hope you have understood how to apply definition. So can you see if you know definition, you can say whether it is a liability or not a liability. There is no rectification required. There is no rectification required, na? Are bolna re? Now I will give example. Borrowing is a liability. This is not a liability. Should I write down example? No. Any examples given, you can apply definition. Correct? So can you repeat once again what is the meaning of liability? Liabilities are present obligation arising from past event, the settlement of which is expected to result in outflow of resource from the entity. Correct? So what is the key term? Present obligation and outflow of resource. These are two key terms. Correct? Now, when such liability has some uncertain amount or uncertain timing, it becomes what? Provision. Correct? It means liability which are uncertain for amount or timing. It means, can you see, it requires some estimation. And if you can estimate amount or timing or both, then you should recognize it as what? provision. But that provision is also a liability. Means which require measurement. Means you need to measure it because you don't know the actual amount, you don't know the actual timing. So you should measure either amount or timing or both. बोलना yes or no? To which require measurement by a substantial degree of estimation. Substantial degree of estimation means the amount should be approximate amount near to what actual liability. How to measure? Can you say how to measure is a discussion which will be done after definition. Of course, we'll discuss how to measure also. You need to understand how to measure that amount of provision. That amount of provision. But provision require estimation. Provision require estimation. Means can I say in this way, if three conditions are satisfied, how many conditions are satisfied? If three conditions are satisfied, we should recognize provision. So recognition of provision, if all the following conditions are satisfied, if all the following, all means all na, all the three conditions satisfied, we need to recognize provision. First condition, there is what? Present obligation arising from past event. Present obligation arising from past event. Understood? Understood. Second, outflow of resource which is required to settle the obligation should be also probable. Should be also probable. Means outflow should be also probable. Outflow should be also probable. Correct? Means obligation is probable as well as outflow is also probable. When I say obligation means chances of occurrence or non-occurrence. When I am saying obligation means chances. So chances should be also probable. Chances of happening of that event should be also probable. Whether rain will come or will not come. If rain will come, so that chances is probable. After rain, what the loss you are going to happen, that loss is also probable. Outflow is also probable. So first condition is about present obligation. So present obligation means obligation must be also probable. Second condition is about outflow. Outflow must be also probable. Understood? Probable, whenever I say it is more than, chances are more than 50%. Chances are more than 50%. Understood? Third condition, of course, a reliable estimation can be made for the amount of what? Obligation. A reliable estimation can be made for the amount or timing of the obligation. Understood? These three conditions satisfy recognize provision, otherwise do not recognize provision. Can you repeat once me? What is the first condition? There must be present obligation arising from past event. Outflow of resource which is required to settle the obligation must be also probable, and reliable estimation can be made for the amount or timing of the obligation. Understood? Have you understood this point? Three conditions. Correct. Present obligation you have understood, sir. A past event is deemed to give rise to a present obligation if it is what? Probable. A past event is deemed to give rise to present obligation if it is probable. Probable means chances of occurrence are more than chances of non-occurrence. Chances of occurrence is more than chances of non-occurrence. Then it is probable. Probable means more likely than not. More likely than not. Means under AS as well as under Ind AS 37 they have used this term, which is more likely than not. Means chances are more than not. Chances of more, chances of happening is more than not happening. Correct? More likely than not. Understood? Have you understood? But can I say all past event will not give rise to obligation or reporting event? Means it might happen there are many past events which is not giving rise to obligation on reporting date. It is already settled before reporting date. Only yes or no? There may be some past event which is already settled before reporting date. Means in this chapter we are already discussing about those obligations which exist on reporting date. So all past event will not give rise to obligation reporting date. Those past event which give rise to obligation reporting date are known as obligating event. In this chapter we are discussing about obligating event. Obligating event means what? Those past event which will give rise to obligation on which date? On reporting date. Have you understood? Correct. That is given. Those past events which give rise to obligation on balance sheet date are known as obligating event. Means first, and in any case study, first find out whether there is an obligating event. Means whether there is an obligation reporting date. Bola yes or no? Then only we can proceed. If there is no obligation reporting date, then this chapter is not applicable only. Bola yes or no? Then you should find out whether it is a present obligation or it is not a present obligation. whether outflow is probable or not probable, whether estimation can be made or cannot be made. Understood? Have you understood? Correct. Now, so you are saying obligation. Obligation means what? Means which type of obligation? Whether it is a contractual obligation or legal obligation. Are you getting? Means right now we have done one contract. So can I say, as per this contract, I have an obligation to provide services, and you have an obligation to pay. Means can I say, under any contract, both party will have some right, both party will have some obligation. So I have an obligation to provide, you have an obligation to pay. I have a right to receive, you have a right to, I have a right to receive some amount, you have a right to receive services. So which obligation? Means in my books there is some obligation, in your books also there is some obligation. So we are discussing about which obligation. Means both are contractual obligation. I have an obligation to perform some services. So whether we are discussing about this obligation in this chapter? No, no, because it will not result in outflow of resource. So this performance obligation is not covered in this chapter. Payment obligation is covered in this chapter. So you have that obligation. Means this chapter is applicable for you. Understood? Are you able to understand what I am saying? Correct. If that obligation from your point of view, if the amount is not known or timing is not known, then you should create what? Provision. Otherwise, it is a pure liability. Otherwise, it is a pure liability. Correct. So can it become a contractual obligation? There may be some legal obligation also. Legal obligation which arises due to some act. For example, simply said by someone that income tax. So income tax payable is also one type of obligation which is created due to some act. Which is due to some act. So whether that is covered. So what Ind AS 37 says that there are two type of obligations. One is legal obligation, one is what? Constructive obligation. One is legal obligation, one is constructive obligation. Obligation arising from past event. We are discussing about which obligation? Which arises from past event. We are not discussing about any obligation which is arising from future event. Correct? So this type of obligation are two types. One is what? Legal obligation, one is constructive obligation. AS 29 was silent regarding what? AS 29 was silent regarding constructive obligation. This is a new term in your life. Constructive obligation. Bolo yes or no? Because AS 29 was silent. Correct? So AS 29 has only said obligation. Got it? Now Ind AS 37 says this will consist of both two type of obligation. One is legal obligation, one is constructive obligation. Legal obligation means which is due to contract, legislation or any other obligation of law. Means legal obligation will include contractual obligation as well as any legal obligation arises due to some act, arises due to some act. Understood? Means both examples will be covered in this chapter or not? Have you understood? So legal obligation means which arises due to contract or any other law or act. It can be because of any other law or act. Got it? Now let me give one more example. We have done one contract. As per contract, you are supposed to pay some amount to me. Correct? That is a contractual obligation. But suppose right now I have done one announcement. I have done one announcement that anyone who have studied from me and has scored 90 or more than 90 in FR exam conducted by ICI, I will refund 50% of fee. Understood? Bolo yes or no? But no contract, because you have not accepted it. Contract, what is the meaning of contract? This is only offer I have given. It will become a contract when it is accepted by the other party. It is only an announcement I have made, So whether it is a contract? No, it is not a contract. Understood what I am saying? It is an announcement. Now whether Ind AS 37 will be applicable to this, because in future it might happen I need to pay some amount because you may score 90 or more than 90. So I need to pay some amount or not? Are bolna re? So whether it will be covered in this chapter, Ind AS 37 says yes. This is constructive obligation. This is constructive obligation. Means any obligation which is arises due to entity's own action. Any obligation which arises due to entity's own action, that is known as constructive obligation. That is known as constructive obligation. So for that also apply what? Ind AS 37. If all the three conditions are satisfied, then create what? Provision. Have you understood what I am saying? So what is the meaning of constructive obligation? Which derive from entity's own action. Any obligation which arises from entity's own action. So I have done announcement, that is my own action. Correct? Correct. So it may be due to past practice. It is quite possible in the past batches I have refunded the amount. So can you see you came in the class with the same information? Bola yes or no? Means just try to understand. At some point of time, you know that in past batches I have refunded that fees or not. So that is nothing but a constructive obligation. It arises from past practice. Means in all my past batches, I have refunded the amount. Those who have scored more than 90. So it become a constructive obligation. Correct. Second, it may be due to published policies. Means it might happen in the website. I've already published it. Any student who is scoring 90 or more than 90, then I will refund 50% of fees. So you came by observing that only, na. So even though I have not done any announcement in the class, you have some indication in your mind that yes, I may get refund if I score what? More than 90. This will be a constructive obligation from my part. Or it may arise due to some specific statement or announcement. Already I have made to this announcement. Whatever I made is actually an announcement, huh? Is actually an announcement. Correct? Means for you it is applicable. If you are scoring 90 or more than 90, come, I will refund after result. Understood? Correct? The actual announcement I have done. Got it? Means now I need to go home and I need to pass my journal entry for what? Constructive obligation. But I need to measure it. How to measure it? I need to inform you. How to measure the amount of obligation. Correct? So I hope you have understood. It derives from entity's own actions which may arise due to what? Past practice or published policy or any specific statement which indicate that entity will accept the responsibility. It is once I have done announcement in the class, so it indicate that I will accept the responsibility. Correct now. Now if I have done announcement, can I just ignore it? No, I can't ignore it now. I can't ignore it. Are you able to understand what I am saying? So which indicate that the entity will accept the responsibility and create a valid expectation. Create a valid expectation on the part of other parties. So once I have done the announcement, you have some expectations or not from me. Valid expectation, yes, if I will study, I will score 90 and I 50% I will receive. बोलना yes or no? So that is valid expenses, expectation is created on your part. So it means it is a constructive obligation. Now Ind AS 37 will be applicable to that only. Means when I am saying present obligation, so this present obligation can be what? Legal or what? Constructive. It can be legal or constructive. Understood? Have you understood this part? Correct? Legal or constructive? Correct? If you have understood this much, before break I will take two examples. The same examples I take in CA Inter, and from that same example already in CA Inter they have asked questions. Means this example whatever I am taking is this CA Inter based example. CA Inter based example. Understood? Correct? Now, I think when I write down the example, you will think, oh, this is the question we have done. Quite possible because popular question, CA Inter level. Suppose you purchase, you means, let us assume Air India. Air India means now though it is taken over by whom? So that company. Okay, Air India has purchased one aeroplane for commercial purpose. Correct. Now, as per National Aviation Act or whatever, I don't know the exact act, but as per certain act, whenever any aeroplane is used for public transportation, the entity should incur a rehauling expenditure after every 3 years. after every 3 years. So it means they need to incur some rehauling. Rehauling means major inspection of each parts. Now, if aeroplane we need to do some major inspection, this is not a small cost. Each part will be open and inspected to avoid accidents. To avoid accidents. The amount is not immaterial. If the amount become immaterial, you can ignore as per materiality concept. Correct now? Because AS and NDS is applicable only to material item. It is not applicable to immaterial item. Understood what I am saying? So they need to incur some rehauling expenditure, which is nothing but major inspection cost as per certain act. Correct? After 3 years from the date of purchase. And suppose we can estimate the amount, means in exam whenever amount is not given, always will assume that amount can be estimated. Because if that point is not given, then you will always say third condition is not satisfied and you will not create provision. So from exam point of view, if the amount is not given, it will be deemed that amount can be estimated. Are you getting? If I am not giving the amount, it is deemed that amount we can estimate, because we can estimate anything. Huh? A CA can estimate anything. We can estimate, means we can estimate our life also. Na? We go to what? Some Purohit and they will estimate our life. So given a chance, I can also estimate your life. Given a chance. Correct? So estimated. It can be, amount can be estimated. But whether should we create a provision? Should we create a provision? Have you done this example in C Inter? I think you have done, because question is also asked and every teacher will teach at C Inter level. But I don't know that whether you remember the answer or not. Now to apply whatever we have discussed. Now forget about CA Inter. That is the past now. Forget. Now apply whatever we have done. Whether provision should be created or should not be created. Should be created or we should not create. How many are saying yes? How many are saying no? So those who are saying no, who will explain? Huh? Explain as per India's 37. Your answer is 100% wrong as per ICI. Understood? Explain as per India's 37. Don't apply your emotions. Huh? Your explanation is not correct now. Your answer might be correct. Yes, no, will not create. But explain it as per the requirement of India's 37. That I am saying correct answer you will not be given marks. Best answers will be given marks. So you think that your answer is correct, but I think your answer is not correct, because I am not convinced about your answer. Now you know India's 37. You know India's 37. Three conditions. Three conditions apply now. Apply how many conditions? Three conditions. Understood? Who will explain? Bolo first. She is saying that there is no present obligation. Whether there is a present obligation or there is no present obligation. Yes or no? Yes. Can I say once we purchase there is a legal obligation? Once we purchase there is a legal obligation that after 3 years we need to incur some expenditure or not. So there is a present obligation arises from past event. Once you purchase, that is an event na. अरे बोलना रे. Once you purchase, that is a past transaction or not. So there is a legal obligation or not. There is a present obligation, of course, and that will happen. You will use it, or you throw it. So come to second condition. There is a present obligation or not. Yes, whether outflow is probable. Now it depends. Outflow is probable or not. Can I say outflow means there will be some outflow only when we use it after what? 3 years. Means entity may decide to sell it before what 3 years, then outflow is not probable. Right now, outflow is not probable. That is based on some future condition or not. That is based on certain future. That is based on some future condition. The outflow is not probable. Outflow is not probable. First condition okay, but second condition will say outflow is not probable because entity may decide towards sell it before what 3 years. So outflow is not probable. Second condition not satisfied and therefore will not recognize any provision. It may be disclosed as what contingent liability. Right now I am not discussing about contingent liability. I am discussing only about what provision. Understood? Means what Ind AS 37 says. This para is very important. Point number D. Only those obligation which exist independently, only those obligations which exist independently from entity's future conduct of business should be recognized. Means any obligation which is dependent on future conduct of business. In my example, the obligation was dependent on what? Future conduct of business, how they will conduct it in future. So for that we will not recognize any provision. Why? Because outflow is not probable, because second condition is not satisfied. So in other words, obligations which are dependent on future conduct of business should not be recognized as provision because outflow of resource is not probable. Outflow of resource is not probable. So both conditions need to be satisfied. I'll take one more example, better example. Okay? I'll take one more example. Can I take? This example I am taking from ICA study matter only because I think sometimes they will ask these questions. Correct? Now, what happened? You are doing one business and you have some accounting department. Accounting and tax department means where all the accounting and tax work will be done by set of employees. So you have many employees. Suppose you have 10 employees who look after accounting and tax, whatever accounting is required. Correct? Now what happened? There is some amendment under Income Tax Act, or let us say GST came. A new act came, GST. Before GST there was VAT, na? Now GST, believe me, I also don't know anything about GST. Means before GST I used to pass all the returns by my own because that I have done. Then GST came, so I have never read GST and I am not trained in GST. So now I have transferred my all the works to one of the CA. Are you getting? It means some training is required now. Then only I can file return under GST. So what happened? The GST came. Now a training is required. Because of that act, changes in the act, is all the employee required training or not? Are bolna re? All the employee required training or not? Past event or not? GST came, arises this obligation arises from past event. But should we create provision? Should we create provision? Good example or not? And this type of case actually comes in life. So at that point you need to react. Should we create or we should not create? Should we create provision? This employee required training or not? Then only they can file return or they can do accounting under GST. So 10 employee required training or not? And training may there be some future expenses. There is some future outflow arising from what? Past event. Should we create a provision? Yes or no? Bolo. Bolo, yes or no? Apply. Everything apply. 1, 2, 3, whatever we have discussed that you apply. Whether this outflow can be avoided. Just think. Whether this outflow can be avoided. Are bolna. There is some outflow of resource. Can we avoid it? Can we avoid it? Means whether it is dependent on future conduct of business. Whether can we hire a new set of employee? Are bolna re. Can we hire a new set of employee? So training is not required. अरे बोलना रे. Means it depends on future conduct of business or not. Yes, and therefore outflow is not probable, therefore no provision is required. That you think? Whether it depends on future conduct of business? If it is depends on future conduct of business, then provision is not required. It may be required as a disclosure, as a disclosure what of contingent liability, but that we'll discuss in the later part. Have you understood? So yes, can you say we can hire a new employee who is a trained person in GST? Am I right or not? And we can avoid it. We can avoid it or not? Or can I say it might happen? Owner become what? Owner has read what? All the GSTs. And now they are training. The owner is only training that employee. Means I can learn GST by my own or not. And then I can train my employee or not. So there is no outflow only. It can be avoided or not. Yes. Therefore outflow is not probable. Second condition is not satisfied and therefore provision is not required. Have you understood? Two example I have given. Now I think any examples created you apply this condition you will get the answer. Now there can be n number of example. There can be some new question in ICI exam. You will not say out of syllabus now. Will you say out of syllabus? So all example I can't take in class. I can give you the concepts. Any question now asks, apply this condition, you will get the answers. So this is important. Questions is not important. Questions, of course, will do the questions, but can you say in exam so you need to apply the concept. Correct. Have you understood? One more example. Suppose there is one event management organization. Means they manage event. They will organize the event. Correct. Now they have organized one event. Understood? And what happened? After taking due cares, a fire occurred. And many people injured, some died also. Quite possible. Correct. Reasonable example. So the relative of that injured or diseased person has filed a case against this event management organization. Correct. Case is pending in the court. Case is pending in the court. And it is highly probable that they need to pay compensation. There is a high probability that they need to pay compensation to the injured and deceased person. But what the CA of this organization is saying that we don't know the identification of the person. We don't know the name, address of that all injured person. We will not create provision because we don't know to whom we are supposed to pay. Understood the example? Means it is a probable that we need to pay compensation, but we don't know the identification of the person to whom we are supposed to pay. Therefore, we will not recognize provision whether the accountant is correct or not correct. Means we should create provision or we should not create provision. We should create provision even though we don't know the identification of the other party. That clarification is given by Ind AS 37. That clarification, can I say some clarification is given, that is understood point, we can apply our common sense. We can apply our common sense now. But clarification will be given under Ind AS. What they are saying, all obligation involve what? Other party. Correct. It is not essential to know the identity of the other party for recognition of what? Provision. It is not at all essential to know the identification of that other party to create provision. Means we should create provision even though we don't know the identification of the other party. Understood? Correct? Have you understood this much? We'll take break. After break, we'll do the last point of provision. Then we'll come to contingent liability. Always break will be for 10 minutes. It is deemed. I will not announce. So I will start after 10 minutes. Okay, na? So that is deemed 10 minutes.
आज कुछ दिक्कत नहीं।
Hello. Can we start once again, everyone? Ready? Okay. Enjoyed break? The 10-minute break. What you have enjoyed? Acha, before break, whatever point I have discussed that you have understood. My speed is okay. Comfortable. ठीक है धीरे धीरे speed will increase. धीरे धीरे speed will increase. Means once I understand that you are understanding my all emotions, then I'll increase my speed. Correct now? This is actually the first. Effectively, this is the only first class. I will say. Last class, so we have done nothing now. Correct. So this is the first class only. Presume this is the first class only. Correct. Now, so before break, we have discussed all the three conditions. First condition, there must be present obligation arising from past event. Then outflow of resource which is required to settle the obligation must be also probable. And reliable estimation can be made for the amount or timing for the obligations. No, no. In that example, I've already said that there is a probability that we are supposed to pay the compensation. That I've already said. Tell me that condition was satisfied only. Now, if I have not said, you need to understand from the case study whether it is probable or not probable. I'll come to that point. Means you are saying evidence is required or not? Of course, evidence is required. As an auditor, you need to see that. Correct? As an auditor, you need to see that whether there is an evidence or not. Means on what basis you are creating a provision that you do audit now. If they are not creating provision, so you need to ask them why you are not creating provision. So you will ask some documentation now, evidence, supporting evidence that you will ask. That is a part of audit. Right now I am saying yes, it is probable. Of course, it is probable. So based on some document. Document means based on certain evidence. Evidence means it can be some expert also. Got it? I am coming to that part. Lawyer is also an expert. Lawyer is also an expert. Hmm? So audit, you are asking about audit. Opinion is independent opinion. Everything is audit. Are you means you are mixing accounts with audit? You are asking as an auditor. You are asking the point of view of auditor. Disclosure to till now we have not done na. Disclosure we are coming. Disclosure देखो. लो. लो. Where is the disclosure? Oh my god. This much I need to teach. Then disclosure will come. Oh my god. Chapter is not ending. Disclosure. Can I teach you first? Disclosure point always at the end. Means there is a always rule. First word meaning recognition, measurement, disclosure. Means all India's deals with what? Meaning, then what? Recognition, measurement, and then what? Disclosure. Disclosure will come to the end. What to disclose, what not to disclose, discuss. Correct? Then we discussed two more points about the future conduct of business as well as about the identification of other party. I hope that point you have understood. Then come to point number F. This point number F is also important from my point of view as per exam is concerned. Legal obligation arises. Legal obligation arises when only when the legislation are enacted. Means when the act is enacted. What is the meaning of enactment? When an act is enacted. When it is passed by both the houses. No. When it is notified in the official gazette of India, then it is enacted. It is maybe passed by both the houses, but still what is required? President sign is required. However, President in India is a formality. Correct now. So enactment means it is notified in the official gazette of India. So can you see what they are saying? Legal obligation arises only when the legislation is enacted on reporting date or before reporting date. Either on or before reporting date. Correct? Or it is virtually certain. Or it is virtually certain. A new term in your life. Virtually certain. Virtually certain means chances are more than 95%. Then it becomes virtually certain. Then it becomes virtually certain. or it is virtually certain by the end of reporting period that it will be shortly enacted. Means it is virtually certain by the end of reporting period that it will be shortly enacted. Means normally in India what happened, if the bill has been passed by both the Sabha, both the houses, so can I say it is virtually certain. In India, president is only a formality. Signing he will do 100% he will do, but can I say it is not enacted. So can I say if it is passed by both the houses, so can I say it is virtually certain that it will be enacted? It will be enacted. Then also it become legal obligation. Then also it become legal obligation. Means can I say in this way? Just try to understand. Suppose this is 31st March, correct? And and you are running one industry, correct? Productions, and you are polluting the environment. You are polluting the environment. It can be air pollution, water pollution, or whatever pollution. Correct? Understood? Now there may be some act on cleaning up the environment. There may be some act which may require the entity to clean the environment if they pollute it. If they pollute it. Correct now. Understood what is the act? So if that act is already enacted. Have you understood this example? Act of cleaning up the environment is already enacted on or before 31st March. So should we create provision? Yes. Means there is a legal first condition is satisfied. First condition is satisfied, so we'll assume that second and third condition will also satisfied. Correct now. So there is a present obligation arising because of act. Correct. So yes, we should create provision. Correct. Second case, act is not enacted on or before 31st March, but it is virtually certain that it will be enacted within short period of time. Now virtually certain is not defined. When it will become virtually certain means it is a matter of judgment. It is a matter of judgment. Means if in exam they say it is virtually certain, so of course we'll assume that it will be enacted within short period of time. It will be enacted within short period of time. If they have already mentioned, so in exam they will mention this term, it is virtually certain, or they will give some information from where you can understand yes it is virtually certain. For example, they say the bill has been passed in both the houses, so it is virtually certain. It is virtually certain. Then even though the act is not enacted, then also require what? Provision. Correct? Act is neither enacted nor virtually certain. I'm writing only virtually certain. Chalega? Nor virtually certain then it that it will be enacted. Correct? But entity has a published policies of cleaning the environment. Entity has a published policy of cleaning up the environment. Understood? Should they create provision? Yes or no? But now it come under which obligation? Constructive obligation. First two are what? Legal obligation, na? These are legal obligation. This become what? Constructive obligation. Have you understood this point? If I write down last, neither one nor two nor three. Have you understood? Means above cases do not exist. Are you able to understand? Means there is neither legal obligation nor constructive obligation. Nor three. तो बताओ. Should we create provision? Means that there is neither legal obligation nor there is a constructive obligation. Should we create a provision? The first condition not satisfied, na? There is no obligation only. So the question of creating provision will not arise. No provision. Just try to understand. When I am saying provision means all the three conditions are satisfied. It can be contingent liability also. Means if one condition is not satisfied, then we'll go to contingent liability, na? Means here it can be yes provision or contingent liability. Yes, 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 na? So it depends upon whether condition, all the three conditions are satisfied or not. All the three conditions are satisfied not. We suppose two conditions satisfied, but amount cannot be estimated. Then it will become what? Contingent liability. We are coming to contingent liability. But when I am saying no provision, if there is no legal obligation, there is no constructive obligation, there is no contingent liability also. Means for contingent liability also we require what? Obligation. Understood? Correct? So here no provision nor contingent liability. Understood? Have you understood? Correct? If you have understood this, then we'll come to what? Contingent liability. Can I come to contingent liability? So right now we have discussed about obligation. One thing we have understood that there must be obligation. On which date? Means arising from which event? Arising from past event. And we have understood that this obligation can be legal or what? Constructive. It can be legal or constructive. Legal will include contractual obligation also. So don't be confused that legal means only act. It can be contractual obligation also. Correct? Yes, sir. Now we have understood this obligation can be of three types. We have not yet discussed. But first we have understood it is can be present obligation. It can be present obligation. Present obligation means, can I say, more likely than not? MLTN means what? More likely than not. More likely than not. Chalega, if you want to write down full. More likely than not. Means what? Chances are more than 50%. Correct? Understood? Now there is one more obligation. Possible obligation. Possible obligation. Possible obligation means which are not more likely than not. Correct now? Which are not more likely than not. Means when chances of happening is less than chances of non-happening. Means can I say less than what? Less than 50%. When the chances are less than 50%. Correct? Now, the third is what? Remote obligation. Remote obligation. Remote obligation means insignificant chances. Means it is immaterial. Now we don't apply Ind AS or AS on immaterial transaction event. It become immaterial. So from percentage point of view, we say it is less than what? 5%. Less than 5%. Correct? Means if the chances are less than 5%, we ignore it for accounting purpose. Means what Ind AS says? Ignore. No accounting treatment. No treatment required. No treatment required. Understood? Now, sir, how will understand it is more or less? Yeah, it is a matter of judgment. It is a matter of judgment. Who will take judgment? CA or management? Management. All judgment are taken by management, not by CA. CA will only do audit. Understood? Correct? They may ask evidence for the judgment, but judgment of what? Management. They will decide. Correct? Understood? So, can is when I am saying here less than 5%, so here it become more than 5%. Here it become less than 50% and more than 5%. We can say in this way. We can say in this way. Understood? Correct. So remote obligation, to you have understood ki whenever there is a remote obligation arising from past event, then don't apply Ind AS 37. Ignore accounting treatment under Ind AS 37. Correct? Have you understood? Now my question to you all, whenever there is a present obligation arising from past event, what you will do? Whenever there is a present obligation arising from past event, what you will do? Bolu? Whenever there is a present obligation arising from past event, what you will do? You will create. Till now you have not understood. Till now you have not understood. I have asked, what is my question? When there is a present obligation arising from past event, what you should do? You said there are two more conditions. Check that. There are two more conditions now. So that two conditions who will check? You need to check or not. So you can't say right now it create provision. So once again, now you are in CA final class. Huh? Whatever you are answering, that might be wrong answer. Even you think that it is correct. Correct? You need to answer based on India's 37 requirement. You can't say only one condition. There are two more conditions. Got it? So can you say after this you need to cross check two more conditions? Two more conditions. Whether outflow is probable or not. Is probable or not. And a reliable estimation can be made or not. Reliable estimation can be made or not. Have you understood this point? Correct. If I say yes, condition satisfied, yes, condition satisfied, then it will what? Then recognize what? Then recognize provision. Then recognize provision. Have you understood this point? Correct. But if I say in this way, either this is no or this is no or both are no, means any one condition is not satisfied, means there is a present obligation arising from past event, but either outflow of resource is not probable or estimation cannot be made. Then can you recognize provision? No. Then what India 37 says, disclose it as what? Contingent liability. Oh, acha, ye baat. Have you understood this point? It means present obligation can be also what? Contingent liability if either of the two conditions are not satisfied. Correct? And what India 37 says that if there is a possible obligation arising from what? Past event, then always what? Always what? Contingent liability. Always contingent liability. Understood? Always contingent liability. Correct? Correct? Have you understood this point? Have you understood this point? Means can we derive a definition of contingent liability from this discussion? Let us derive the definition. Can I say contingent liabilities are present obligation? Contingent liabilities are present obligation arising from past event, which is not recognized because either outflow of resource is not probable or reliable estimation cannot be made, or it is a possible obligation arising from past event, or it is a possible obligation arising from past event. Then means if you understood, can you see you can create definition in exam also? If you have understood, and can you say memorization become easy? Memorization become easy. So for passing the exam, of course we need to memorize. But there are two type of memorization. Memorization with understanding, without understanding. What you memorize without understanding, that you forget. But what you memorize with understanding, that you never forget. So there is a difference between memorization and rectification. Rectification means without understanding. Memorization means with understanding. Correct? Correct? Can we repeat once again? So the contingent liabilities are present obligation arising from past event which cannot be recognized. Why? Because either outflow of resource is not probable or reliable estimation cannot be made, or it is a possible obligation arising from past event. In exam, if you write down the keywords now, you will get marks. Means you can't change the keywords. A present obligation, you write down present obligation only. You can't keep some other name. Possible obligation is possible obligation. You can't change that terms. Outflow resource is outflow resource. These are the key terms that you can't change. You need to understand the importance of key terms. If you can write down that key terms, you'll get marks even though you are doing grammatical mistakes. Means your marks is not based on grammar. We are not Angrez na. But we are writing in English. Believe me, in CA exam, they do not deduct marks for grammatical mistake. Even though spelling mistake, they will ignore that. But they should understand your emotions. They should understand your emotions. If they can understand your emotions, they will give marks. Even though marks is not based on handwriting. Even though your writing, which is not a good handwriting, but it can be understood, you will be given marks. It is not a BCom exam where handwriting matters. Understood? Correct? Yes, sir. So what is given? Meaning, contingent liabilities are present obligation from past event which cannot be recognized because either outflow of resource to settle the obligation is not probable or reliable estimation cannot be made. Or 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 what? Or it is a possible obligation arising from past event. Khatam. If you write down this much in exam, done. But if you can write down entire, write down full, what is given? Which are possible obligations arising from past event, the existence of which will be confirmed by only by the occurrence or non-occurrence of uncertain future event, which is not wholly within the control of entity. But that is not required. Possible obligation is what? Which are not more likely than not. If you want to write down full. But if you have written this much now, definition over. Possible obligation arising from past event, the existence of which will be confirmed by occurrence or non-occurrence of uncertain future event which is not within the control of entity. You can memorize. You can memorize, na? Are bolna re? Yes, sir. Understood. But if you have written keywords now, more than enough in exam. Because they also don't know the entire definition. Na? They say, acha. Got it? Correct? I think you have understood the meaning part. Correct? Now, of course, we know that we are not supposed to recognize provision. We will not recognize provision, but require what? Disclosures, correct? But require disclosure in the financial statement unless outflow is what? Remote. Means can I say in this case outflow can be either probable or not probable. But if outflow is remote, then once again no treatment, because can I say it become immaterial. So we don't apply Ind AS or AS on immaterial transaction. So contingent liability unless what? Unless means I can say in this way. If you want to write down in this way, outflow is probable, not probable, and third is what? Remote. Probable means more than, not probable means less than, remote means less than 5%. Understood? Correct? Have you understood this point? Then for these two we'll disclose what? Contingent liability. For this, no treatment. No treatment required. Have you understood? Correct. If question is silent, always will assume outflow is probable or not probable. By our own will not assume outflow is removed until unless it is given in the question. So if they have given to you need to understand the emotion of the question that you need to write as per Ind AS 37. Is either it will be provision or contingent liability. Got it? Correct? If nothing is given, we'll assume outflow is not removed. Understood? Correct. Means can I say in this way? Any present obligation. You have written this much? Can I say in this way? Any present obligation Outflow is either probable or not probable, that I am not saying, which cannot be estimated. Means outflow condition satisfied, huh? I'm not saying about outflow right now. Any present obligation which cannot be estimated, what do you do? बोलो, any present obligation, outflow condition satisfied, huh? Either it will be probable or not probable. अरे बोलना रे. But any present obligation which cannot be estimated, what do you do? Contingent liability. Contingent liability. Possible obligation which can be estimated. Possible obligation which can be estimated. Contingent liability. Possible obligation which cannot be estimated. Contingent liability means, can I say, whether estimated or, are you getting what I am saying? Or cannot be estimated. Both will come here, na? Have you understood this point? Correct. Means for contingent liability also measurement required, but if you cannot measure it, then also disclose the fact and just disclose that you are not able to estimate it. The possible obligation, if you can measure it, very good, thank you very much, disclose the amount also, but if you cannot measure it, disclose the fact and disclose the fact that you are not able to measure it. But present obligation estimated and provision not estimated and contingent liability. Understood is fine. With this contingent liability also over. Now any questions come, you can do it. Whatever case is given, you can apply all the conditions. After this only you require questions. There can be 1 lakh questions, 1 lakh case studies. If you know this fact, you can apply or not. You can apply. This is more important. Concept is important. Concept is more important. Understood? Now, can I say contingent liability you have understood? So what is the meaning of contingent asset? Come to the next part. Contingent liability is more than enough. Correct? Because we have discussed a lot of things about provisions. What is contingent asset? Means, just try to understand. When I am saying liability, so liability, provision, contingent liability. Actually, provisions are nothing but liability. There is a liability or contingent liability only. Am I right or not? Because provisions are also what? Liability. Means there is a liability and contingent liability. Liability will come inside the balance sheet. Contingent liability will come outside the balance sheet. This only the. So there is an asset or contingent asset. Are you getting what I am saying? Asset or contingent asset you will recognize. Contingent asset you will not recognize. Have you understood? So contingent asset. Contingent asset. The contingent asset are possible asset arising from past event. Possible asset arising from past event. Have you understood? Possible asset arising from past event. Correct. The existence of which will be confirmed only by the occurrence or non-occurrence of one or more uncertain future event which is not within the control of entity. Means the keyword is what? Contingent asset are possible asset arising from past event. Means for asset, there is an asset or possible asset. There is no present asset. Are you getting what I am saying? They say asset or possible asset. Have you understood what I am saying? For liability, they have said what? Present obligation, possible obligation. Correct now. But here it is what? Either asset or possible asset. There is no term present asset. Possible asset. So possible asset arising from past event. Now when I say possible asset, means inflow. Means now we need to think about the probability of inflow. Now we see think about the probability of inflow as we discuss about probability of outflow in the case of what? Liabilities. So here we'll discuss about probability of inflow. So what Ind AS 37 says that about recognition and disclosure, that if inflows are virtually certain, if inflows are virtually certain, virtually certain, understood? मजा आ रहा है? Inflows are virtually certain, means certain only. When I am saying inflows are virtually certain, means certain only. When inflows are virtually certain, then it is not a contingent asset. Then it is not a contingent asset. Then it is what? Asset, and recognize it. So the inflows are virtually certain is shall be recognized as an asset, not treated as what? Contingent asset. And when I am saying asset, then recognize it, pass a journal entry. Virtually certain. Have you understood? When chances are more than 95%. When chances are more than 95%. Have you understood? Have you understood? Bolo yes or no? What you have understood? Explain. Give some example. Very good. Excellent. Excellent example. Excellent example. Now just when I say data credit sales, excellent example you have given. Credit sales. Now whenever credit sales, so we need to ask question. If I ask question whether it is certain, what is your answer? Whether inflow is certain, what will be your answer? Yes or no? No. How it is certain? Data may default also, na? Data may default or not? Now, we have done sales to known customer also, but known customer can also default. And therefore, there is a chances of what? Some loss for which we create in CA inter provision for doubtful debt. Are bolna re? Are you able to understand? So can I say when you ask a question whether it is certain, you can't say yes. Now, if I ask second question whether it is uncertain, what will be answer? No, then also no. Then also no. It is not uncertain because that isn't you have done sale. Means can I say it is virtually certain. It is not certain, but it is virtually certain on the date of sale that yes, we will receive the amount. But it is virtually certain. Chances are more than 95%, and therefore we have passed the 90 data account debit sales. It is an asset, not a contingent asset. Not a contingent asset. Understood? Correct? I hope you are understanding. So can you say inflows are virtually certain in case of data? Therefore, from bachpan se we are recognizing data as an asset. So any inflow which are virtually certain, it will be a asset. If the inflows are probable, probable means chances are more than 50%, but in this case it will be less than what? 95%. When I am saying now probable, so in this case it will be less than 95%. That is understood point. That is understood point. So if it is probable, then it is not an asset. No asset is recognized. It will be treated as what? Contingent asset. Contingent asset. Now India 37 say disclose in financial statement. Now when we say disclose in financial statement, it means what? Financial statement consists of notes to account. When I say disclose in financial statement, not in balance sheet, not in SOP, disclose where? So all the disclosures are given where? Notes to account, and notes to account is a part of what? Financial statement. So when we say disclose in financial statement we give disclosure where? In notes to account. However, AS 29 used to say that contingent asset will neither be recognized nor disclosed in financial statement. If you want to disclose, disclose where? In director's report. In under AS 29. Correct? My question to you all, whether director's report is a part of financial statement. Now AS is for what? Financial statement. No, if you want to disclose anything, disclose in director's report. Users are not interested about director's report. Users are interested where? For financial statement. I don't understand why AS 29 says disclose in director's report. Correct now. We can disclose anything in director's report. Because AS or Ind AS is not for director's report, it is only for financial statements. I will say that was not a correct point, and now they have corrected it that contingent asset, if any, required disclosure where? In financial statement is become difference between what? AS 29 and Ind AS 37. Two difference we have done, constructive obligation and second is what? This difference. Understood? So it is disclosed where in financial statement. However, AS 29 used to say disclose. No disclosure required in financial statement. If you want to disclose, disclose where? In director's report. That is given under AS. Now, if it is not probable, inflows are not probable. So can I say when I am saying not probable, no treatment, no treatment. Means can I say Ind AS is more strict for the recognition of asset and disclosure of asset. We are strict for what? Asset. Inflow. Inflow means conservatism. Can I say? So we are strict for the recognition of inflow, and therefore it is nothing but conservatism principle. Nothing but conservatism principle. But if it is not probable, then no treatment. And can it not probable will include remote also? Not probable will include remote also. Understood? Correct. Means if I want to give a summary about outflow and inflow, outflow and inflow. Try to understand. If I am saying 100% certain, outflow is certain, then it is a liability, correct? But in this case, it is an asset. Inflow is 100% certain. When I am saying outflow is virtually certain, it is virtually certain. Virtually certain. Now, virtually certain, so as per definition, it become provision, and it is nothing but liability only, na? So here, so it was liability only, but we have given one name, provision, because estimation is required. But in this case, it is an asset. It is an asset. Have you understood? Correct. Now, if it is probable, probable is more than 50%. Here it is a liability only, provision. But here it become contingent asset. Contingent asset means will not recognize any asset but will recognize liability. Correct? Due to conservatism. And when I am saying less than 50%, so here it become contingent liability, but here no treatment. Here no treatment. When I am saying remote, in both cases what? No treatment and no treatment. This becomes a summary of outflow and inflow. With this we have done the meaning part. Meaning part and recognition part we have done. Meaning part and recognition part we have done. Definition also completed. Recognition means when to recognize, when not to recognize, when to disclose, when not to disclose. That also we have done. Have you understood? Any doubt? So you can understand the teaching style entirely change from CA inter to what? CA final. Understood? Till now India's 37 is not completed. Means our focus is what? On concepts. And believe me, whatever question is given, once you have understood this, you can write by your own. If you have not understood this, then you do 1 lakh questions. In exam, it will be a new question. In exam, it will be a new question. You will not be able to write if you don't know this concept. We will focus on what? Concept building. We'll take some question. Nothing to worry. I will take some question. Got it? Meaning understood? Now coming to the measurement. Measurement part. How to measure? How to measure? Correct? The measurement of provision. Of course, normally we discuss measurement of provision only. But can I say contingent liability also require measurement? If you can measure, disclose the amount. If you can't measure, then also disclose the fact. So of course we should measure contingent liability also, but from exam point of view, normally they will ask the measurement of provision only. If they ask. Correct? So how to measure? So what India 37 says that it should be the best estimate of what? Best estimate of what? Expenditure of expenditure which is required to settle the obligation. Best estimate of expenditure, future expenditure. Best estimate of what? Future expenditure which is required to settle the obligation in future. Correct? At the end of reporting date. Oh, acha, acha, acha. At the end of reporting date. You can understand how I am just speaking all the words. All words are need to be analyzed. Have you understood? Best estimate. Now, what is best estimate? That is the further next discussion. Means how to do best estimate. That is the next point. So right now, don't think about best estimate. Correct? Best estimate of expenditure which is required to settle the obligation at the end of reporting date. If you have understood this much, so can I ask one question? Can I ask one question? Are bolna. If you will not say, I will not proceed. You need to respond. Correct? Because teaching is also require motivation. We also require motivation. Lot of motivation required. Then only best will come from us. Otherwise, to I can teach anything. Come for costing class. But that best will not come. Correct? Because I don't know costing. Reporting date. Now suppose on this date all the condition is satisfied. First condition satisfied. Second condition satisfied. Third condition satisfied. And because third condition satisfied, now you are doing measurement. Have you understood this point? So don't ask me, sir, why you are creating provision first apply condition. So already applied and now provision is required. Correct? Now, as per our measurement, it was now measured means as per the expert opinion or whatever. We have taken the expert opinion. So as per expert opinion, the obligation means the settlement will arise after 3 years. First 1 to 3. At the this is y3 na, y3, correct. And amount can be also estimated. Don't ask me sir how you have estimated this amount. We have applied best estimation and the amount is 10 lakh. Amount is 10 lakh. Understood? Correct. So this 10 lakh we need to pay after 3 years. Correct. We are creating provision here na. Are bolna re. My question to you, what amount we should create? How much amount? How much amount we should create? What will be the amount of provision? Bolo. What will be the amount of provision? बोल तो यार. Everything तो I have given. Have you understood my question? देखो just try to. I can say also what is the amount, but मजा नहीं है. देखो I can save my 2 minutes by giving the answer. Understood ना? And that will save my time, save my days also, save my days. But actually you are not able to understand how to interpret. In exam hall, you need to only think. Exam hall is the deciding factor. Whatever you have done in past, that is not at all important. On exam day, how you are writing, that is important. How you are writing, that is important. That day is very important. On that day, if you can apply your concept, common sense, then it is done. I am preparing you for that. Understood? Apply. Whatever I am asking, try to apply. 1 second. I say this is our reporting date. After 3 years, we need to settle the obligation. And the amount of obligation is 10 lakh. We need to create provision on reporting date. What will be the amount of provision that I am asking? Huh? Huh? Present value of 10 lakh. 100% correct? 100% correct na? Look, just try to, don't assume right now that whatever you are saying that is not correct. And believe me, I will prove that 90% time will be correct only. And believe me, AS29 has never said about discounting. Means in CA Inter, you have done undiscounted amount only. So why here you have said discounted amount? Because you are applying what your common sense. Right now, so I have not discussed anything about discounting na. Are bolna re. You could have said 10 lakh also. You could have said 10 lakh also na. But most of you have said present value of 10 lakh. Why? Because you know what is required to be done. You know what is required to be my CA. And we all are right now CA here. Some are past CA, some are future CA. Understood what I am saying? Are you able to understand? अरे बोलना रे. अच्छा, just try to understand. Very one thing I just want to ask you. I mean right now because you are doing article C, correct? So do you, but you don't think that right now if the degree come you can start your own practice? बोले yes or no? You can start your own practice or not? If suppose somebody said you are CA, you can start your own practice or not? Because you know all the works. अरे बोलना रे. If you don't know, you can learn na. Whatever you are doing, nobody has given any training for that. Have you anyone has given training for article C? You learn by yourself only. This is ITR, this is this column, this is this column, this is this column. Acha, this is audit form. You should copy paste from previous year. अरे बोल ना रे. Only years need to be changed. अरे बोल ना रे. So that too we can do na. We can start our own practice or not. Given a chance. अरे बोल ना रे. Means you are actually a CA. You are actually a CA. अरे बोल ना रे. Only what is required? A degree is required. But you can start doing practice and you can start earning money. You can start earning money na. Can't you file a return? So right now I require CA to file my GST return. Can you file GST return? What is the fees going on right now? I also don't know because I am not into practice now. I've left miss only 5 to 10% I do practice. That too also kabhi good amount if I receive then only I do. Otherwise I don't do. Correct na? Means for one return if somebody is giving 10,000 then only I will file. Otherwise I don't file. Right? 10,000 मिलता तो कौन छोड़ता रे? For 20 minutes, 30 minutes I am receiving 10,000 ना? As there are some foreign connections मिल जाता है रे. Correct ना? But how much GST return? I don't know how much. 5 rupees? 5 to 10 what? तो बोलना पूरा. 5 to 10K. तो 5,000 you are saying normally 5,000 per month. चलो ठीक है 2,000 per month भी चल जाएगा रे. Correct ना? 2,000 per month? Can I say? 2,000 per month from a client. तो per per month ना. अच्छा ना 2,000 is okay or not? अरे बोलना रे. At this point of time 2,000 is okay or not? Means if you somebody is giving you some work, so can't you charge 2,000 and can you file GST return or not? Will you require someone help? You don't require someone help means you can start earning from today only. Means this CA degree is only a formality. And can you see with the passage of time you can easily, if you enter into the market, 100 clients मिल जाता. If you enter into the market, you start searching. अरे आजा 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 आजा. अरे बोलना रे. They are charging 5,000. I will do at 2,000 रे. अरे बोलना रे. अरे करना. बोल 2,000 you can charge or not? 2,000 into 100 how much? 2,000 into 100 how much? Oh my god, 2 lakh per month. 2 lakh per month only from GST. अभी तो accounting, audit, internal audit, tax consultancy, IFRS consultancy, Ind AS consultancy, these all are left. Scrutiny. बोलो yes or no? These are left only from GST filing return to. You said 28,000. I have not said. I don't require 20,000. 2,000 from per client, 100 client is not complicated nowadays. Everyone is under GST right now. If you go to a small vendor now, you can convince the GST registration. You can convince. Well, yes, that power we have. Correct na? And then 2,000 per month. It's a 2,000, 1,000 chalega. 1,000 per month also 1 lakh. Which job will give you? No job will give you at the first moment. 2 lakh per month means it become 24 lakh per annum only from GST. Which job you will get? We are not for employment. We are for what? Employer. We are employer, not employee. This you need to understand from the beginning. We are not made for jobs. Actually, I was also not knowing. I started with job only. Then realized I'm not for this. 16 hours I am working for Deloitte. Why I will work? 5 hours, 6 hours is enough. Per day 5 hours, 6 hours is enough ना. 8 hours कर लेंगे. चलेंगे. चल 24 hours over. But I will work for me ना. Right or not? That I have just given one message. That lot of opportunities are there in practice. But you should have patience. You should have belief. Job is short-term money. We should think about our long-term money. Understood? We see are not for 10 lakh, 20 lakh, 30 lakh per annum. We are not made for that. But if you want to earn 30 lakh per annum in a year, don't do CA. Itna pain why you are taking? This much pain you don't take. BCom maybe 20, 30 lakh aa jata nowadays. Why you are taking so much pain? Are you able to understand? A call center person is also earning 25 to 30,000 per month. I was discussing with one driver, cab driver, understood now, they are earning 40,000 per month. So we see here for 40,000 per month. Don't think also 10 lakh, 20 lakh, we should not expect also. Our aim should be 1 crore per annum. अरे हंस दिए यार. Why हंस दिए? क्यों हंस दिए? Whether I am wrong? If you are settling below 1 crore now, I will say then don't do this. Below 1 crore below chalta hai, but if you are thinking about 30 lakh, 20 lakh, 40 lakh, initially ठीक है, but not for long term. Within 4 years, you should set a target that within 4 years you should achieve what 1 crore. Within 4 years, your target should reach to what? 4 crore. No job will give you 1 crore. That will be 20 crore. If suppose starting is 10 lakh, not 10% increment, 20%. That maximum 25% increment if you are very much what? matlab they can't live without you. If you have proved that, then only they will give that much. But that are exceptions. Set your target right now. You should not set anything below what 1 crore after 4 years of becoming. Understood? Are you getting what I am saying? Why I am saying this? Because actually this is the fact. You need to understand. We are not made for jobs. Initially, one more thing. If you are suppose financially not strong right now, financially is not strong right now. So initially for 1 2 year you can do job to survive in the market. To survive in the market. That is also understood. Suppose you are not from financially strong family. So for 2 3 years you need to have job to survive in the market. But your long term goal should be what? Something extra, something more. That you should right now plan, not after becoming CA. Before becoming CA, plan yourself. What you are going to do after becoming CA. Actually, I have not planned my life. What mistake I have done, don't do. I wasted my initial 2 3 years because I was not planned. I started doing CA without knowing what is CA. I scored 90% in what? Class 12. Everyone was doing CA. I also started CA because I am from a family where no one is educated. I was the first person who became what educated so much. So no one was to guide me because everyone was doing. I started also doing CA. I become CA. I've not understood why I become CA. Everyone went for what ICA placement. I also went there. I also selected. I started doing job. I was getting what a good amount that time. That time 8 lakh per annum was very good. 8 lakh per annum was very good amount. I was happy. 8 lakh divided by 12 कितना हुआ? 8 lakh divided by 12 something around 40 50,000 ना. 40,000 coming in the pocket. मजा आ रहा है कि नहीं मजा आ रहा है? And that time not married to entire was saved. That time I was not married na, so 40,000 saved. But I realized within 6 months that no, something is wrong. Something is wrong. And believe me, within 9 months I left. But actually I have not planned ki what I should do. Because of that reason, 2 3 years I was confused what actually required in my life. But I've understood with the delight that actually I am not made for job. I can't work for 13 hours for only 8 lakh 10 lakh. Because I'm from business background. I understood that I am not made for that. That I am saying that yes, you need to also focus on that and don't waste your time. What I was saying that if you apply your common sense now, you can answer everything. Present value of 10 lakh. So what India 37 says that at the end of reporting date, therefore what they want to say that if you come to this note, amount of provisions shall be the present value of expenditure. Understood this point? And this is why, because they have said the best estimate of the expenditure which is required to settle the obligation at the end of reporting date. Therefore, discounted amount means present value of future expenditure, present value of future expenditure. The amount of provisions should be present value of future expenditure if the effect of time value of money is material. Of course, can I say the time value of money should be material? Means the time value of money is not so much significant, then ignore it. Then you can recognize that undiscounted amount. Now whether it is material or immaterial, that depends upon judgment one side. Correct? Means can I say from examination point of view, say if the amount is payable after 1 year, so the time value of money is material only. But if it is payable within 2 months, so the time value of money is not material, then you can ignore discounting and you can recognize that what undiscounted amount. However, from examination point of view, whenever they have given rate of discount, it means discount. From exam point of view, if they have not given rate of discount, you can ignore it from exam point of view. So have you understood what they want to say? Amount of provisions shall be the present value of expenditure if the time value of money is material. Have you understood? But what will be this expenditure that we need to estimate now? So right now we are discussing about this. This will be estimated amount. Correct? And when it will be paid, that we need to estimate. So two estimates is required. For that we need to perform best estimation. best estimation. So how to estimate that we need to understand. So what they have given, estimation are determined by management judgment. Oh. Means all judgment will be taken by management. Means as a CA you need to go to management and ask what is the estimated amount. They will provide you. They will provide you. Means they know the circumstances. They can easily estimate. If they cannot estimate, so they can take the help of internal expert or external expert. We can take the help of our internal or external expert. Are you able to understand? If suppose some legal case is pending, so we'll take the help of lawyer. We'll take the help of expert. Expert is lawyer only. Are you able to understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. So estimation are determined by management judgment. It need to be supported by some evidence. Supported by some evidence. Correct. Either it can be experience of past transaction, based on the experience of past transaction. Correct now. Right now in the class I announced that if anyone scored 90 or more than 90 in exam, I will refund 50% of fees. A constructive obligation arises. So as per past transaction means past batches, I'll just observe that in that past batches how many students were there. Suppose 100 students and 5 students scored what? More than 90. So means can I say 5% of this batch may score more than 90? So I'll count the number of students, apply 5%, multiply with the 50% fee. Can I say we can estimate based on past transaction? Based on past similar transaction. Have you understood? So it should be supported by experience of past transaction or report of an expert or report of an expert. Expert can be internal or external. Report of an expert or any additional evidence provided by event occurring after reporting date. Any additional evidence provided by event occurring after reporting date. Means AS4 means after this I will start Ind AS 10. AS4 is nothing but Ind AS 10. So after this chapter I will start Ind AS 10 where I will take many examples based on the third point. Understood? So that I will discuss under Ind AS 10. Understood? Have you understood? Correct. So can you say from exam point of view, I will say as per the information given the question. Because can you say past transaction they will provide, expert opinion they will provide, additional evidence they will provide. What we'll do? We'll read the question, write down the answer. Correct. Now, means from exam point of view, we are not supposed to become expert. All information is provided in the question only, na. Otherwise, it is not a question of measurement only. Means if it is a question of measurement, they will provide information or not. Let me take one question without reading any other para. Let's see whether you can apply the information or not. Abhi right now we have not discussed this thing. Dekho, abhi tak it is left. Dekho. But let's see whether you can apply the information or not. Can I take the question? Means still now measurement point is not complete. Suppose one question came right now in exam and you are writing C exam. Can you score or you can't score? Let me understand that point. Come to one question. Question number I think 32. Question number 32. You don't have see this, huh? Question number 32. This. Okay. One question. Already asked in exam, huh? Exam dekho. Exam November 2019. Correct? Become CA. You become CA. Become CA and answer, huh? Correct. Assume that the firm has not been operating its warranty for 5 years and reliable data exists to suggest the following. If minor defect occur in all the products sold, repair cost is 20 lakh would result. If major defect are detected in all the product, warranty you know, warranty, everyone knows warranty. So I am not supposed to explain warranty at CA final class too. CA enter chalo I need to explain, but CA final class you all know warranty. Means whenever we do some sale there is some warranty obligation. So warranty obligation also requires some outflow of resource. So for that we need to create provision if all the 3 conditions are satisfied. Normally for that all the 3 conditions will be satisfied. Correct? So for major defect cost will be 50 lakh. The manufacturer past experience and future expectations indicate that each year 80% goods sold will have no defect. 50% of goods sold will have minor defect. 5% of goods sold will have major defect. Calculate the expected value of cost of repair in accordance with the requirement of Ind AS 37. Ignore both income tax and effect of discounting. They have not given rate of discount. इसलिए we will ignore what discounting from examination point of view. Can't you calculate? बताओ expenditure. Estimate it. Estimate. You don't have calculator? अरे why in my class bring calculator? I will not inform you to bring calculator. Huh? All are sitting like this. And don't use mobile. Huh? Today you can use, but don't use mobile. I am very. I normally I don't. This we should not use. Huh? Today use कर लो चलो ठीक है. Tomorrow bring calculator ना. तो calculate ना. अरे मतलब I will ask you to take out from your bag. कितना lazy is this CA finance are so lazy ना. So lazy. Once you enter into articles in a week, अरे sir ना यार. Others are working now. Why I will work? Correct ना रे? Calculated. बता what is the amount? अच्छा don't see the answer ना. Answer नहीं देखेगा कोई. No one will see the answer. Have you seen the answer? Hey, please yaar. After calculating you have seen ना. First calculate and you see. And then cross check. Correct? देखो. You have given the correct answer. Means I have not discussed how to calculate the amount. You have given the answer or not. Means in exam any questions come, can't you write? In exam what you think? Achha, this is out of syllabus. I will not write. Why you will not write? Any question from the syllabus only na. Even you don't know, just try to attempt it. And I think most of you, I think all of you, you have calculated this amount only. Well, what you have done? For no defect, 80% zero. Then 15% what amount? 20 lakh. 15% 20 lakh plus 5% of 50 lakh. What amount is coming? 5 lakh 50,000. This become the amount of provision. 5 marks question was asked in exam. 5 marks question. Free marks. Lay. Paso. Come. Become CA. They are saying like this na. 5 marks. Free marks na. So why you are teaching this chapter? We can do by our own. Correct na? If for this type of question that we can do. But my help is required. But what I just want to inform you that, believe me, if you attempt any question right now, थोड़ा सा concept you know, you can आराम से you can explain, understand what is the requirement of question, you can answer. Can I say this answer you have understood? Let us read what India says. How to measure? Actually, this is this point. How to measure? Only I will take 5 minutes extra. Can I take 5 minutes? Okay. When obligation involve large population, means it is not one population, not one item. It involves large population. Okay, in a year we'll sell many units. So we can't do one by one calculation now. It is not possible to calculate provision for warranty for each sale. Will die. So they said when provisions involve what? Large population. Then determine the expected value of obligation. They determine what? Expected value of obligation. Expected value of obligation is nothing but weighted average of all possible outcome. This possible outcome will be either calculated from past transaction or from the expert opinion. Means will be given the question only na, and you need to apply what? Only mathematics, and therefore mathematics was in CA foundation. Understood? To solve this question. Have you understood? Can is very easy. Determine now. Keyword is what? Determine the expected value of obligation, which is nothing but weighted average of all possible outcomes. Means in exam you will be given marks, full marks. You write on as per Ind AS 37. The amount of provision will be the best estimate of expenditure which is required to settle the obligation at the end of reporting period. Whenever there is a large population, we calculate expected value of obligation, which is nothing but weighted average of all possible outcome. As per the given question, the weighted if you write this much, they will give 5 marks. Otherwise, average marks. 1 marks, 2 marks. Even though your answer is correct. Understood? Understood? You need to give reference of what? Ind AS 37. Got it? That become best answer. That become best answer. And that you can write. That you can write now. Correct? Then what they are saying? When there is a single obligation. single obligation. Suppose one legal case is pending. One single obligation, correct? Single obligation. One legal case is pending. And there are two possible outcomes. 60% against means unfavorable, you lost, and 40% chances of win. 60% loss और ऐसा कर लेते हैं, चलो ठीक है, and it become 20 lakh. 60% and 40%. 60% there is a chances of high damages, and 40% there is chances of low damages. High damages is 20 lakh. Low damages is what? 2 lakh. Correct? Means one legal case is pending and now your lawyer is saying that you need to pay some amount if we lose the case, and the probability of losing the case is very high. And if you lose the case, there is a high chances that there is 60% chances that you need to pay 20 lakh, and there is a 40% chances that you need to pay what? 2 lakh. Quite possible. Means there are two possible outcome. Whenever there is a two possible outcome, now normally we don't do average. Then they are saying most likely outcome will be the amount of provision. What is the most likely amount? So you should create a provision of what? 20 lakh. So most likely amount will become the amount of provision. This will become most likely outcome method. Most likely outcome method. Understood? Correct? So what they are saying, just see. When there is a single obligation with two possible outcome, provision is created based on most likely outcome. However, no question has been given for this in ICS study material. No question for this. They have given question. Normally they will ask in exam weighted average of all possible outcomes. Normally, means they can create a new question for what? Second point. Till now, though not asked. Till now not given in ICS study material. Done. Measurement also completed. For today, this much only. Thank you very much. We'll meet tomorrow. Till then, bye bye. Take care. Enjoy your remaining day. Acha, I will discuss once again this point tomorrow. Don't worry. Okay. Once again, I will come to this point number C tomorrow. Okay. We need to take some more clarification. Of course, you have some doubt. It might happen because of limitation of time. I have ended the class. Chalega? Now, any doubts? Either you can ask me right now only. So I'll be available for 20 minutes. But normally you don't. You are busier than me because you have office. So either you can ask me in the WhatsApp group. Soon I will create a separate WhatsApp group. Okay, na? So in that you can ask me if some doubt is coming in the night and you are not getting sleep. Correct now. Ask me that doubt. If if I am awake, so I will answer. Correct. If I am not replying, समझो कि maybe I have also slept. Okay. Otherwise, morning you can ask me doubt. And any good doubt I will answer in the class only. So I will say I will answer in the class if it is a good doubt. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day.